he's being produced presently. There are, of course, senior lawyers representing him. Then Krishnan is the senior most lawyer, also Manish Mathur and others. But here's what the Rouse Avenue Court looks like. Take a look at how the strict security cordon is in place. Joint CP Paramaditya standing right now, that's leading the cordon here of the police. Special CP Dipendra Pathak also was just about here a short while ago. There are already PCR vehicles, and I want to just go close to show you the layers of security that has been done. This road has been completely blocked, Nabila. We'll give you a view to help you understand that there are buses also behind. The buses have been brought in. That specifically because there is a concern that there could be protests that are breaking out, and they want to ensure that the law and order situation does not arise. But throughout this area, there is going to be that we are ensuring. All right, I've been told to take a step back, so I will come back to this. But I can tell you, Nabila, what we saying a yellow shirt, the same shirt that he was wearing yesterday when he brought out that show of strength and decided to then go for the CBI questioning. But he was sitting in the middle of the vehicle. Flanking both sides were, of course, cops and senior officers of the CBI. But there were at least 6 to 7 vehicles of the police squadron that were brought along with the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. As you can see already here, Delhi police officials ensuring that the area is completely cordoned off. This is one to ensure that the protests don't break out in this area like it did at the Aam Aadmi Party headquarters. And they will be here. It's not just the Delhi police, it's also the CRPF. All of this to ensure that the protesters don't get out. In fact, I want to add here that some of the Aam Aadmi Party workers were seen here around the court, but they were immediately told to cordon off from the area. Nabila, back to you.
Right, of course, the police very well prepared, knowing the kind of popularity that the Aam Aadmi Party has in the state of Delhi. They've come back to power for the third time around. An integral part of that was Manish Sisodia. He really was the man behind bringing the AAP to power in the national capital for the third time around, known as literally the right-hand man of Arvind Kejriwal. It's come as a huge blow to the real premise of the Aam Aadmi Party itself, which was born on the basis of being the anti-corruption crusader. So Manish Sisodia's arrest by the CBI, it comes as a huge blow to the image of the Aam Aadmi Party, as it really wants or intends to make its way into different parts of the country, not just the national capital and Punjab. After Punjab's success, it appears that they really had big boost to and confidence to contest in several other different states, including that of Gujarat. They in fact are contending to even contest from Karnataka, a poll-bound state, even Rajasthan for that matter, northeastern states as well. But here, Manish Sisodia's arrest will come as a huge setback for the AAP and will dent their morale at this point, undoubtedly. How far are these allegations true? At this point, Pooja, we know that the AAP has been claiming that these are all fake allegations, it's a fake, false case. But at the end of it, you have the CBI coming out with a detailed report on the points that Manish Sisodia has been evasive.
Sir, कुछ बताएंगे? Sir. Manish, would you like to say something, Manish? You have been arrested and there is a massive protest which is also going on. Manish, you would like to say something?
All right, those were the live visuals coming in. Reporters, of course, asking Manish Sisodia if he had comments to make. He's quiet. He's mum, does not want to speak a word at this point. But even before his arrest, Manish Sisodia had almost hinted at the fact that he knows he's going to be arrested in this case. He even declared it to the media time and again that they are coming after me. They have absolutely no evidence, but I know they're going to come and arrest me. And that's precisely what's happened. But is it true that the case is false? We have Munish Pandey, our correspondent, tracking the central agencies there. Munish, you have Aam Aadmi Party netas right from day one when this investigation was launched by the central agencies, claiming that the new Manish Sisodia will be arrested one day. That this is going to be inevitable. What made them so sure?
Well, Nabila, not recent, but from last 4 months. Remember, from the time when Gujarat elections were happening, right from Arvind Kejriwal to Manish Sisodia to other senior leaders of Aam Aadmi Party. They were claiming that Manish Sisodia will be arrested very soon. He'll be arrested in the next 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. And again, when he was summoned to appear before the agency, the Aam Aadmi Party leaders started saying that he will be arrested by the Central Bureau of Investigation. So for Aam Aadmi Party, it was a political case. For the Central Bureau of Investigation, it is a case which is about the criminal conspiracy and a corruption case. As far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, their strategy is very clear, that they are going to fight this case politically, and they will also take political mileage out of this case. And that is why we have seen that since the time the CBI started their investigation, they have not only blamed the LG of Delhi, but also the Bharatiya Janata Party, the senior leaders of Bharatiya Janata Party, and to an extent, they have also given slogans against the Prime Minister, that is Mr. Narendra Modi. So as far as, Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, their strategy is very clear, that in the public, they want to give a message that this is a political case, and out of political vendetta, the CBI is acting on behest of Bharatiya Janata Party. But as far as BJP is concerned, they are claiming that there is a corruption which has happened in the national capital. Manish Sisodia was involved in it. They are also giving the indication that Arvind Kejriwal was also aware of it. But as far as the main investigative agency is concerned, that is Central Bureau of Investigation, they are claiming that they started building the case based on the evidence, and based on evidence, they decided to arrest Manish Sisodia. Any moment from now, the hearing will start, and then we will see the legal battle between the CBI's legal team and the legal team of Manish Sisodia.
Right now, Sisodia has been taken inside the Rouse Avenue court, but right when he was on his way, reporters are asking questions. Listen in.
So, Manish, would you like to say something, Manish? You have been arrested and there's a massive protest which is also going on. Manish, you would like to say something? Manish, So, Manish, would you like to say something, Manish? You have been arrested and there's a massive protest which is also going on. Manish, you would like to say something?
Sisodia there, not responding to the questions being asked. He's right now in the Rouse Avenue court. He's, of course, the CBI asking for at least 15 days custody. We have Munish Pandey who is tracking those developments. Munish, we believe that the court hearing has begun. Would you be able to tell us what exactly is being presented by the CBI today as they push for 15-day custody of Manish Sisodia?
The CBI is asking for the maximum custody of Mr. Manish Sisodia, the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister. As far as the CBI is concerned, the remand copy will be served before the court, and the remand copy will be mentioning the reasons because of which the CBI decided to arrest him and why they need custodial interrogation. Two very clear grounds are the non-cooperation by Mr. Manish Sisodia during the questioning, and also he was evasive when he was asked about the excise policy. Apart from that, the third and important ground is going to be the destruction of evidence, because remember, he has been arrested under Section 120B, that is Criminal Conspiracy, Section 477A, that is Defraud and Under Prevention of Corruption Act. Now, destruction of evidence is something which is considered as a part of criminal conspiracy, that is Section 120B of Indian Penal Code, and based on these grounds, they will be asking for custodial interrogation, and in layman language, they will be asking for the custody of Manish Sisodia.
Right, and we hear that while the CBI is presenting its case in court, they've also spoken particularly on one point on how Manish Sisodia is said to have allegedly changed his mobile phones as the CBI. And I should remind my viewers here that the hearing in court has just begun, with the CBI counsel now presenting all that it has in its report to gain 14-day custody of Manish Sisodia. And in the first, they've claimed that Manish Sisodia has arbitrarily changed the rules. He has changed his mobile phones, and they're reading out the applications there before court. In fact, while the counsel they're presenting its argument there, speaking on the policy margin that was allegedly enhanced, the eligibility criteria itself of the tender was completely changed. And here the CBI presenting before court, if at all the liquor policy was so fine, if it was absolutely correct, then they should have gone ahead with it. What was the reason for Manish Sisodia to have scrapped it? For the Delhi government to have withdrawn the liquor policy entirely, which of course naturally raises questions on the way it was framed. Certainly raises questions on whether there was intention, malicious intention before framing that policy with an intention to gain kickbacks from these liquor licenses. I'm going to cut across to Pooja Shali as well, who's right outside the Rouse Avenue Court. Pooja, the hearing has begun and the CBI is quite stern when it presents its arguments, claiming that it wants 14-day custody of Manish Sisodia, and point by point speaks of how Manish Sisodia allegedly changed his phone numbers repeatedly and arbitrarily changed the rules and guidelines and framework of the liquor policy without actually getting it approved from competent authorities. And this is why he should be right now in custody to investigate further.
Well, first, Nabila, senior advocates Dan Krishnan, Siddharth Agarwal, Mohit Mathur are representing Manish Sisodia. And one of the reasons they want a bail early is because of they are quoting the health of the wife. That will be one of the reasons that they could likely be telling the court. But the CBI is very clear. The CBI says it's not just about him being unclear or not giving exact responses, clear responses, because most of the replies were, I do not know. But there have been digital evidence that according to the Central Bureau of Investigation, they have been able to brought out. These are files that were allegedly deleted and have been retrieved by the CBI. This, remember, is also where the ED has been tracking this case. But the CBI wants an extended custody because they are saying it's not just about that they were not convinced with the 8 hours of questioning. It is way beyond that. There was clear evidence that they have been able to put forth to which they did not get clear answers, and they want custody on that. So the CBI is very clear. Now, I want you to understand the procedure also here. Usually, the police custody is about for 14-15 days. Now, this time, while Sisodia's lawyers will want an early bail, the CBI is likely to push for at least few days of custody. Even if 14 days is not an option, at least a few days, as much as they can, they are likely to push for it. Depending on what the court says and depending on the reasons or the seriousness of this case right now, there could be trouble brewing for Manish Sisodia. But the bigger question is this trouble only for those few days when the CBI gets his custody, or is it just the starting of a trouble? Because yes, the CBI has to eventually prove these are very serious charges. They have arrested a serving minister.
As the arguments right now are presented before court, I'm going to cut across to Nalini, who has been tracking court for us. Nalini, a quick word from you. We believe that Manish Sisodia's team has also jumped in, pushing for bail, and also citing Vijay Nair there, saying that he's been given bail in the CBI case, and on basis of which Manish Sisodia also seeking bail. He's quoted his wife's illness as a reason to why he should be let off on bail here. How likely is it that the court will concede?
Well, Nabila, these are some strong medical grounds to seek interim bail, and that's what Manish Sisodia is doing. He's saying that his wife's health is not well, and on that basis, he's seeking interim bail. But remember, it's very important to point out that this is the first time that Manish Sisodia is being produced after he was arrested by the CBI yesterday, and the CBI has given reasons for exactly why they want their custody before the Rouse Avenue Court, but they've said that Manish Sisodia has been evasive during the questioning, even though he's been duly appearing before the CBI, does not mean he's been cooperating with the investigation, and that they need to conduct custodial interrogation of Manish Sisodia to get to the further details. They've also gone ahead and said that Manish Sisodia has changed his mobile phones in the past some time, because of which they've not been able to trace the exact data of what had gone on, and the digital evidence that they've relied on has been captured from the digital devices that were seized during the raids at Manish Sisodia's home as well as office. And what they're saying is that they require at least 5 days of custodial interrogation. Remember, 14 days is the maximum police custody that the CBI can ask for at this point, but they've decided to go with 5 days so that after the 5 days they can build a stronger case from whatever they interrogate through Manish Sisodia during these 5 days.
So Nalini, clarify for us, if the CBI is seeking 14-day custody, or are they seeking 5-day custody?
Nabila, CBI can maximum seek 14 days custody. He can, for the maximum amount of time, be in custody for 14 days. But for now, they've only sought 5 days custody. Right. So if this 5 days custody is granted, and once this 5 days custody expires, they'll be able to get only 9 more days custody, is essentially what I'm trying to say over here. More than 14 days custody cannot be granted to any police agency. He will have to either be released on bail or sent to judicial custody once this 14-day time period is over. And this is the reason why this custody is so crucial for the CBI, because they have only a limited amount of time to try and extract as much information as possible from Manish Sisodia. Now, the main crux of the CBI's case is regarding the drafting of this excise policy. And what they're trying to find out from Manish Sisodia is how changes were brought about in this excise policy and how certain contentious provisions were brought in that were not part of the first original draft but were later brought in as part of the final draft. What they're also trying to ascertain is that if these provisions were brought in from some external source, from somebody who was outside the excise department, likely somebody who was later on a beneficiary of these same contentious provisions and the kickbacks that were received in lieu of that. So keeping this in mind, the CBI is going to go into the further details of this case. They've not been able to recover a lot of digital evidence regarding exactly how this draft came into being, how it went on from the first draft and how the final draft was then created, which is why they've called in Manish Sisodia. They've arrested him and they now want to conduct custodial interrogation to find out who exactly was responsible for these clauses being brought in into the final draft, which eventually benefited several businessmen who allegedly also gave kickbacks to the Aam Aadmi Party in this entire
The allegations are certainly huge, and of course the CBI has found out a lot of irregularities in the case, but really no one to take accountability on the same. Nalini, stay with us. I'm cutting across to Pooja on that. Pooja, the level of allegations, the number of allegations leveled against the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi for framing this liquor policy arbitrarily in such a way where they receive kickbacks and commissions post the tender being allotted. All the other accused in the case who've been arrested, all of them have maintained before the CBI that it was on Manish Sisodia's behest that we have acted. We have acted on the orders of the Deputy Chief Minister, Manish Sisodia. But while the same questions are presented to Sisodia during interrogation, even yesterday, we believe that he said, I don't know, to most of the questions that were presented before him.
This is getting very interesting, Nabila, because what Manish Sisodia's lawyers are saying is that how can this be a ground of remand custody, that because Manish Sisodia did not confess or did not say what the CBI officers wanted to say, so let's go and get him arrested and want extended custody. They are hitting back at the CBI very clearly, and I want to quote what the lawyers have said, that they are saying that he's concealing.
All right. We're going to try and patch Pooja's connection there, but one should know that right now in court, the CBI, of course, they're pushing for at least 5-day custody of Manish Sisodia, claiming that he's been very evasive on the number of questions that were presented to him. He's not been answering properly. We want to conduct further investigation, and we are worried that if Manish Sisodia is not in custody, he could be well enough in the power to try and tamper with evidence. This is more or less the argument that the CBI has in court, but at the same time, Sisodia's team, they're pressing for bail on the grounds that Manish Sisodia's wife is ill and he's the only caretaker, and on these grounds, will the court really grant him bail? That remains to be seen, and every update in court there being tracked by Nalini, who's joining us on that. Nalini, a quick word. As I see here, the CBI almost arguing that if Manish Sisodia is let off and if we are not given custody, it's going to be very difficult for us to investigate the matter. He may be in power to tamper with evidence. That's more or less their line of argument. But at the same time, Manish Sisodia seems to have a strong case. His wife is ill, and that could be considered before court. And they're also sort of referring to Vijay Nair being given bail in the same case. So why not Sisodia?
Yes, absolutely, Nabila. But remember, Vijay Nair also had to spend certain amount of time in CBI custody before he was granted bail in this entire case. And at the same time, another thing we need to remember is that this might just be the starting point of the trouble for Manish Sisodia, because even if things work out in his favor and he somehow manages to, if not today, eventually get bail from the special CBI court, there is also the Enforcement Directorate that is also investigating this entire case, which has very strong likelihood likelihood of jumping in and seeking Manish Sisodia's custody as soon as either he is released on bail or sent to judicial custody. Of course, we are not speculating at that point anytime soon, but at the same time, this could be a possibility that trouble might be mounting even further for Manish Sisodia in the coming days. Because remember, and why I say trouble will be mounting, Nabila, is because in case Enforcement Directorate moves in to arrest him, then he is going to be charged with sections under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, where getting bail is an uphill battle, because the burden of proof under the PMLA then falls on the accused, which will be Manish Sisodia in this case, to prove his innocence to even get bail. But in the CBI case, let's keep it restricted to that for now. He's been charged under Section 7 of the Prevention of Corruption Act, which basically talks about taking illegal gratification except for the salary that you get from the government. So it is this illegal gratification that they're talking about in the excise policy case, saying that it was Manish Sisodia who was responsible for tweaking certain provisions of the entire excise policy in the final draft, so that the excise policy could benefit certain companies and certain businessmen, who then in turn gave kickbacks to the tune of hundreds of crores to the Aam Aadmi Party and Manish Sisodia specifically. Now, it's the top echelons of the Aam Aadmi Party that are right under the scanner in this entire case. Not just Manish Sisodia, but also several other leaders. There's a possibility that Satyendra Jain can also be roped in, because he has been questioned with regard to the excise policy scam as well. So it's a big battle that lies ahead, not just for Manish Sisodia, but also for the Aam
Aadmi for a moment. Here you have big updates coming in while Manish Sisodia's team there trying to argue that Manish Sisodia is being forced to admit to a crime which he hasn't done. Now, I can't be reprimanded for not confessing to a crime. I'm not at fault, but I'm being forced and pushed to admit to something I haven't done. And this can't be the grounds or basis of which I should be arrested.
Well, yes, Nabila, essentially what Manish Sisodia is saying is that he has a right against self-incrimination, which means that the CBI cannot call him for questioning and then ask him to confess about the crimes that he has committed. There is no burden on him to go ahead and confess of any crime that he has done. He is simply required to answer the questions that have been put forth by the CBI. But at the same time, the CBI is saying that Manish Sisodia has not been forthcoming with the answers that they've asked, specifically regarding these certain contentious provisions and how they were brought into the entire excise policy that was under the department that Manish Sisodia himself was heading. What is the CBI relying on to make their case, Nabila? That is the main question. And they are relying on a statement of one excise department official, who has said that Manish Sisodia himself personally was involved in the drafting and the framing of this entire excise policy. In fact, if you look back at the press release that was issued by the CBI just minutes after Manish Sisodia was arrested yesterday, that also talks about irregularities in the drafting and the implementation of the excise policy that was drafted under Manish Sisodia's leadership. So his role in this entire case is extremely crucial, because it was his department that was heading it and everything was signed off by Manish Sisodia himself. So for him to come out and give some direct answers is extremely important at this point for the CBI, which is why they've moved in to arrest him after just 2 times of questioning him, because first he was questioned in October, then again he was called during the budget time when he had expressed his inability to come because he was busy with the budget preparation, and then yesterday again after being questioned for almost 7 to 8 hours, the CBI took him into custody and they have now officially arrested him and produced him before the special CBI court at Rouse Avenue. What they're essentially saying is that he's not
Manish Sisodia's team saying, if I'm not confessing, that does not make me guilty. In that case, every criminal will have the same modus operandi in court. They will keep mum on the allegations leveled against them. Questions will be asked, they say, I don't know. And to that extent, then the cops or the central agencies can never be able to investigate or arrest anyone for that matter. When he says that I have not admitted to a crime which I haven't done, that does not call for my remand. I should be let off. Now, does that even hold good in a court of law, that argument?
Well, Nabila, what we need to understand is that both the investigating agency, which is the CBI over here, and the accused, Manish Sisodia, both of them have rights and duties that they duly have to fulfill. So, although Manish Sisodia is absolutely right when he says that he has a right against self-incrimination and there is absolutely no reason why he should be asked to confess anything before the CBI, but at the same time, it is also the CBI's job to investigate this case. They cannot just ask Manish Sisodia to appear before them and expect him to give direct answers according to their wishes, exactly in the words that they wish. Because Manish Sisodia, of course, is going to try and make out a strong defense for himself. He's not going to bend over backwards to allow the CBI to take him into custody. So keeping that in mind, the CBI also has a very crucial role to play on how they investigate the case. That is why they've relied on not just statements from Manish Sisodia, but also statements from the Excise Department officials. They've also seized his digital devices through which they've gathered the digital evidence of exactly what was happening in the office at the time when this excise policy was being drafted. Now, through these digital devices and through the digital recovery of evidence, they are trying to ascertain who exactly was responsible for these changes that were brought in into the excise policy, because Manish Sisodia himself has not been forthcoming with the answers. So it is although right for the CBI to say that Manish Sisodia might not be cooperating and they might have a better chance at trying to get some answers out of him if they have custodial interrogation, but the CBI is also bound by a time limit. They will have to not only prove a strong case before the court for why they want the 5 days of police custody, but also if they hope to get any further custody at the end of these 5 days, then these 5 days they will have to really dig in deep and get out some crucial details against Manish Sisodia and his involvement in the excise policy scam to be able to make a strong, waterproof, watertight case against Manish Sisodia before the court of law. Because all the political posturing and all the things said by the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party outside the court of law are completely different. But before the court of law, only the facts and what the CBI can present as evidence is something that is going to hold ground. So if they're just making a case out of thin air, then of course it's not going to hold any water. They will have to bring forth some solid proof, some solid evidence to keep Manish Sisodia in custody if they want to. Now they've asked for 5 days custody. It remains to be seen how much the judge is agreeing to at the end of the day, because Manish Sisodia is also asking for interim bail at the same time, saying his wife is not well, there are medical grounds under which she needs treatment, and which is why he needs to be with her and should be allowed out on bail. Another important thing that Manish Sisodia's legal team has said is that Manish Sisodia, every single time that he's been called by the agency, has duly appeared, and the one time that he has not been able to appear, he's communicated to them the reasons for why he's not been able to appear, and he's asked them to schedule another date, after which the interrogation had happened yesterday. So there is no question of Manish Sisodia evading arrest or evading questioning in any way. So he's been cooperating, and due to that, he should be released on interim bail is what his legal team is saying.
Stay with us, Nalini. Pooja also joining us right outside the Rouse Avenue Court. Pooja, give us a little background on Manish Sisodia's bail plea and the argument before the court by his counsel, saying that his wife is seriously ill and he's the only caretaker. Tell us a little more. Even yesterday, the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal himself, right after the arrest, came out in a press conference and really sympathetically spoke about Manish Sisodia's wife being critically ill and that his son is currently abroad. There's really nobody to take care of his wife, and of course Aam Aadmi Party netas are all going to be looking out for her, but this is a tragic situation. Tell us a little more about Manish Sisodia, his family at this point. What do we know about his wife's health status?
This is getting very interesting now. This is getting very interesting at the revenue. The details that we are getting from the Rouse Avenue Court from inside is very interesting. How senior advocate Dayan Krishnan has actually quoted the High Court rules, and he has quoting those rules says, how is this really a case for remand? Very clearly that the senior advocate is saying that simply because Manish Sisodia did not confess to what the CBI wanted him to say. CBI wanted him to confess to a certain case that does not exist, according to senior advocate Dayan Krishnan representing Manish Sisodia. So you arrest him and ask for an extended remand. They're actually hitting back at the Central Bureau of Investigation. And I quote what the senior advocate Dayan Krishnan has said, that not disclosing correct facts cannot be a reason. There's right to self-incrimination. Just because one didn't confess confess doesn't mean he did not cooperate. He did cooperate. He was called. He attended the questioning that went on for 8 hours. Delhi High Court rules say exactly the same things. How can possibly remand be done in these cases? And it can be granted only when it is absolutely necessary. So yes, of course, there were personal issues that Manish Sisodia's lawyers were likely to refer to, but they are hitting directly at the CBI, saying the only reason CBI is doing this is because Manish Sisodia did not confess exactly what they wanted to. Now, of course, like you have been also asking earlier, that it does not really work like this, that a confession comes in and only then an investigative agency asks for any sort of extended remand. But I can tell you this, the CBI counsel have said that it's not just about the confession. What we are saying is we are bringing to you evidence. One of the investigations that we have done in this case shows that a policy margin, the liquor policy margin, was extended. It was given to players who were not part of it earlier. Specifically, the eligibility criteria was changed. Eligibility criteria about what sort of private players can be brought in to be a part of this excise policy that started in November 2021. By September 22, had to be slashed, had to be pushed back. One of the reasons was because the irregularities had been exposed and surfaced. Now, Aam Aadmi Party says there's been nothing irregular. There's no illegal funding involved. But the CBI says they've managed a chain trail and have retrieved some deleted files. But the CBI counsel says there's absolutely no case that stands here. They wanted him to confess. He didn't confess because there's no crime. And now they want a remand over that. Nabila.
Of course, these are several aspects that the court will be looking into, and of course the severity of the case. Nalini, at this point, what category does this case really fall under? How serious is the offence? We don't know if Manish Sisodia is in prison. If at all he's implicated in this case and charge sheeted, then he might just be in prison for the long haul. If he's in prison for up to 2 years, he loses out on his assembly seat. He won't be able to contest for the next 6 years. So these are the political implications on Manish Sisodia. But how serious is this crime, and what level does it come under, which will prevent him from even getting bail at this point?
Well, Nabila, it might still be a little bit easier for him as long as it's just the CBI and he is being charged under the Prevention of Corruption Act, because essentially over here the burden is going to be on the CBI to prove that there is even a little bit of a case against Manish Sisodia to keep him in custody. So they are the ones who will be under pressure before the court to bring forth facts, to bring forth evidence and make a strong case. But once the Enforcement Directorate is brought in and once the money laundering charges come, if ever, on Manish Sisodia. Remember, he's already named in the ED FIR. So once the money laundering charges are brought in, then it's going to be a really uphill battle for Manish Sisodia. Because under the PMLA, the burden of proof will not be on the agency anymore, but rather be on the accused, which will be Manish Sisodia, to prove his innocence, even just to get something as simple as bail. So that's essentially why you see that a lot of political leaders who have been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate continue to be in jail for much longer than those that have been arrested by the CBI. So the likes of Nawab Malik, the likes of Anil Deshmukh, all of these people have been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate for money laundering, and it's becoming very difficult for them to get bail, more so in the light of the recent judgment of the Supreme Court that had upheld the powers of the Enforcement Directorate to make such arrests, to conduct such investigations, and to continue holding these people in custody without any option of them getting bail until and unless they go ahead and prove their innocence before the court of law. So the burden of proof is going to be on Manish Sisodia then. This is by no means the end of the road for Manish Sisodia's troubles. This is just the beginning, if we can say that, because it's the first time that he's being produced, and trust me, this won't be the last time. We'll be seeing this repeat multiple times happening over and over again, first with the CBI and then after that most likely with the Enforcement Directorate as well, because they're not going to miss out on this opportunity to keep him under that pressure environment so that he is bound to give forth some sort of details to these investigating agencies, something that can give them a lead for further investigation and to link the entire chain of events. But at the same time, right now the burden of proof is very much on the CBI, which is why they're trying to make out a case. The judge has specifically asked the CBI, what are your specific allegations against Manish Sisodia? Don't talk about the Aam Aadmi Party, don't talk about his position as the Delhi Deputy CM or the number 2 in the Aam Aadmi Party. Talk about the specific allegations reports regarding the excise policy scam against Manish Sisodia. And what they are saying is that Manish Sisodia has not been cooperative when it comes to the drafting of the excise policy.
मोदी जी को लगता है कि वो किसी को भी जेल में डाल देंगे, उनको लगता है कि वो बिना किसी सबूत के साथ किसी को अंदर डाल देंगे, कोई आवाज भी नहीं उठा सकता। आज पार्टी ऑफिस के अंदर घुस रहे हैं, पार्टी ऑफिस के अंदर घुसकर लोगों को अरेस्ट कर रहे हैं, ये कैसी तानाशाही है। आम आदमी पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता शांति से बैठे हुए थे, पुलिस वाले आके उन्हें घसीट के लेके जा रहे हैं।
को 5 दिन की कस्टडी में रखा जाएगा, बस पर क्या कहना होगा आपका?
देखिए, हम पहले दिन से जब तक मनीष सिसोदिया जी जेल में हैं, हमारा प्रोटेस्ट जारी रहेगा। हम लड़ते रहेंगे, हम संघर्ष करते रहेंगे, और ना सिर्फ हम लड़ेंगे, इस शहर का हर इंसान लड़ेगा, इस देश का हर इंसान लड़ेगा, इस तानाशाही के खिलाफ लड़ेगा। भारतीय जनता पार्टी को ये पता होना चाहिए कि जो 26 फरवरी 2023 जिस दिन उन्होंने मनीष सिसोदिया जी को गिरफ्तार किया है, वो दिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अंत की शुरुआत है।
The senior leader within the Aam Aadmi Party, even now at this point, stressing that without any proof they've arrested our leader. This is vendetta politics. This is political pressure out of which the central agencies are acting. And this is precisely the chant right from day one when the investigation into the liquor policy alleged scam was initiated by the central agencies. The AAP has been saying the same, stressing on the same, even on a day when Manish Sisodia is currently in court. But this was an all-offensive campaign that was expected of the Aam Aadmi Party, and knowing their true nature, as expected, they're out on the streets calling this a black day, creating this huge showdown all across the national capital, almost with the police now keeping Delhi on high alert. You have police security forces in most parts of the national capital, Delhi, hoping to avoid any untoward incident. Pooja, on that note, as we see Manish Sisodia, Arvind Kejriwal's right-hand man who's currently in court, where he could likely be in custody of the CBI for a little long, will then the central agencies be knocking at the door of the Chief Minister himself, Arvind Kejriwal? Because it's a natural question or something to ponder on. If it's Manish Sisodia now, will it be Arvind Kejriwal next?
Which is also going on.
सिपाही आम आदमी पार्टी के दफ्तर में घुसकर हमारे कार्यकर्ताओं को उठा के जेल में भेज रहे हैं, ये तो गलत है। जब हम आपको कोई परेशान नहीं कर रहे, हम आपको कुछ कह नहीं रहे, तो किस कानून की धारा के तहत आप हमारे कार्यकर्ताओं को गिरफ्तार कर सकते हैं? हम सड़क पे तो नहीं खड़े, हम अपने ऑफिस के अंदर खड़े हैं। ये गलत है, ये नहीं चलेगा। बिना बात कोई बात नहीं हो रही है, कोई लेना देना नहीं है, सिर्फ एक तानाशाही है। केंद्र सरकार की तानाशाही के तहत जो इस तरीके से गिरफ्तारी की जा रही है। अभी कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर रिजर्व किया है, हम इंतजार कर रहे हैं ऑर्डर का। चलेगा, अभी हम यही हैं।
Right, Aam Aadmi Party netas there constantly chanting the same slogan that this is intimidation tactics, this is the way to arm twist the opposition, this is tanashahi, nothing but dictatorship. You have the Aam Aadmi Party saying this right from the start, even till today, maintaining the same tone that this is the BJP trying to control the central agencies, and central agencies they are implicating any threat that comes in the way of the BJP. And you see Atishji, you see Saurabh Bharadwaj, senior leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party there in an all-out protest, condemning this arrest of Manish Sisodia, calling him innocent. Now, even before the CBI could complete its investigation in the case, you have the Aam Aadmi Party saying that he is innocent, he's being targeted. How fair is that? Pooja Shali also stays with us on that. Pooja, my question to you earlier was, if it's Manish Sisodia now, will it be Arvind Kejriwal next? And shouldn't the Aam Aadmi Party and its supporters at this point have a little patience, have some faith in the central agencies to allow them to do their duty? They are investigating and probing corruption. All of us want a corrupt-free country, at least corrupt-free politicians. Should they not wait until the investigation is over before they kick up a storm?
Interesting questions you've asked, Nabila. So your first question that what about Kejriwal now? Could the agencies be landing at his door? For now, he could be in the clear because Arvind Kejriwal holds no portfolio in the Delhi government of the Aam Aadmi Party. The maximum portfolios were held by Manish Sisodia, Satyendra Jain. Two serving ministers currently have been taken into arrest on different charges. But also now, of course, those portfolios will go to other ministers. Whether Arvind Kejriwal takes some of those crucial portfolios, that remains to be seen. But for now, he does not have any direct profile that perhaps any agency can trace to and say he's also been indulging in corrupt practices. But Aam Aadmi Party, of course, has been stating because Arvind Kejriwal is the main challenger to the Bharatiya Janata Party and to Narendra Modi for 2024. That's why the agencies have been rushed against him, and this is they are calling a political vendetta. But coming to another question about the protest, Aam Aadmi Party, since I've covered from day one, since the Anna Andolan, banks on creating a show of strength, creating a showdown when they are in the dock. They are not a party or its workers to sit in the back, be defensive, or perhaps wait for any conclusion. They'll be right at the forefront.
I'm going to cut across to Amit Bharadwaj, our correspondent, right inside the Aam Aadmi Party office, where we believe a showdown has occurred. You have Amit tracking those images for us. Let me cut across. Through those images, we see the chants there. BJP Murdabad, Tanashahi Murdabad. This is the taunt that AAP has been giving from day one. What's new?
Well, Nabila, the action that is happening in the AAP office is because there are allegations that Delhi police officials tried to enter the Aam Aadmi Party national headquarters, and after that, all these AAP workers have assembled and are raising slogans against Delhi police. I'm joined by Saurabh Bhardwaj right now. Was there an attempt to enter the AAP office by Delhi police?
I think it is very shameful. This is so unfortunate. This is totally illegal. We are sitting within the premises of the Aam Aadmi Party office. This is our legitimate office. Our volunteers are sitting here, and the Delhi police entered this office and tried to pick up our volunteers and put them under the jail.
Were volunteers detained from the party office?
Look, there are almost hundreds of volunteers who have been taken away from our party office, and they have been taken to the police station in Ashok Vihar, Fatehpur Beri, different parts of Delhi.
This new bawal which started, was it because the Delhi police entered the party headquarters?
Yes, without any provocation, without any reason, Delhi police with hundreds of policemen and rapid action force barged into our office, and they tried to just, take away our volunteers. This is unheard of.
So, Nabila, you just heard Saurabh Bhardwaj saying that, Delhi police tried to barge inside the national headquarters of the Aam Aadmi Party, and right after that, this bawal had started in the national headquarters of the Aam Aadmi Party. Atishi is also joining us right here. So, you could see, you have Adil Khan, Atishi, Saurabh Bhardwaj, all the Aam Aadmi Party senior leaders who have come in front in order to protect the party workers. This hangama that you are seeing unfolding at the party office is because there was an attempt by Delhi police jawans to enter. That's what in the party headquarters. That's what the Aam Aadmi Party leaders are claiming. Nabila, the fact is that all these workers were silently protesting inside the national headquarters of Aam Aadmi Party, but suddenly the ruckus and hangama started. When we came here, we realized that there was an attempt possibly to enter the Aam Aadmi Party office. That's what Aam Aadmi Party leaders are saying. You just heard Saurabh Bhardwaj saying that this is unprecedented action which took place. And now because of this, you have angry Aam Aadmi Party workers and senior leaders of the party protesting at the national headquarters of the Aam Aadmi Party. And remember, a few meters from here is the Rouse Avenue Court, where Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia was produced in the excise policy case. So clearly, the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Marg has been converted into a war path of sorts today, where you had for at least 2 to 3 hours Aam Aadmi Party workers protesting, getting detained, trying to break the barricades, and after that a peaceful protest was taking place at the party Aam Aadmi Party headquarters. And a few minutes back there was an attempt as being claimed by AAP leaders, senior leaders, that Delhi police tried to barge in order to detain the AAP workers, and that's when this hangama, this bawal started. Back to you, Nabila.
You know, at this point, it's unlikely that this kind of pressure and pile up by the Aam Aadmi Party netas will really have any significance on the court's order or its verdict now. Do we have Nalini still with us? If I could go over to Nalini. Nalini, this kind of pressure that we see mounting by the Aam Aadmi Party, where they're really trying to unleash this narrative saying that Manish Sisodia is innocent, he's being targeted, this is vindictive, etc. Central agencies are used by the BJP to try and intimidate them. Will this hold any bearing in courts' views as arguments are presented by the CBI? Will they look at this as a threat at all, that Manish Sisodia going in or being arrested will cause law and order and therefore he should be granted bail?
Well, Nabila, one important thing to remember is that any sort of political argument is going to hold any ground with the court of law. The special CBI judge M.K. Nagpal, who is hearing the case, has clarified right at the very beginning that he wants to know about the specific allegations regarding the Delhi excise policy scam against Manish Sisodia, under what grounds Manish Sisodia has been arrested. Now, what Manish Sisodia's team is claiming is that just because Manish Sisodia is not giving the answers that CBI wants to hear does not mean that he is not being cooperative in this entire case, because that is the main allegation that is being levelled by the CBI. That is the main ground under which that they've arrested him, saying that he is not cooperating and he is not giving us the direct answers. But Manish Sisodia's legal team's justification and defense for that is that not giving the answers that the CBI wants does not mean that he is not cooperating. He is duly appeared. He's sitting there for as long as they want. He's allowed them to question him as strenuously and as strictly as they want, and at the same time Manish Sisodia has been fully cooperative. He's allowed them inside his home, inside his offices, whatever digital devices that they were asked for, he's handed it over to them. He's allowed them to go through his digital devices. After this, the CBI to come forth and say that he's not being cooperative only means that the CBI is not getting what they want to hear, and it is on the basis of that they are saying that. But at the same time, another very important thing that the CBI is saying is that Manish Sisodia might have the possibility of tampering with evidence in this case, because he is at such a high position within the Delhi government that he might have access to certain documents that the CBI has still not seized, because of which there is a possibility of evidence being tampered. Now, that is a very strong ground for the court to go ahead and grant custody of any accused, because evidence tampering is something that the court will look at very, very seriously. So if the CBI is able to make out even a weak case on evidence tampering, there is a possibility that the court might give at least few days of custodial remand to the CBI so that they can interrogate him further and get to the bottom of some things. But at the end of that custody, the CBI will have to come forth with some concrete evidence against Manish Sisodia and bring facts to the court on what they have really investigated during this time that they had Manish Sisodia's custody for. Now, they've asked for 5 days of custody. It might not be possible that this court will allow 5 days itself. They might allow for 3 or 4 days. It remains to be seen exactly how things pan out, because both the sides are leaving no stone unturned in putting forth their case, where Manish Sisodia is also being battled by legal.
I'd like to ask you here, Nalini, a quick word from you. We believe that that Manish Sisodia's counsel, as they're arguing in court for his bail, have presented this point that it's a state subject. Excise liquor policy, of course, is a state subject, and this was presented before the Delhi LG for his recommendation and suggestions as well. It's not been implemented. It was scrapped, but it was certainly put forth by the Delhi government to ensure responses from all quarters, at least all stakeholders. So where was Manish Sisodia or the leadership wrong?
Yeah. That's exactly, Nabila. That's precisely what Manish Sisodia's lawyers are arguing, because they are saying that this is a draft that was presented before the LG's office and it was signed off by the constitutional authority himself, who did not at that time point out any changes that he would like to make to this policy. But at the same time, Nabila, another thing that we have to remember is that only the final draft would have been placed before the LG's office, the final draft of the liquor policy would have been placed before the LG's office for his approval. What the CBI instead has done is that the CBI has gone back to the first draft that was originally created for this excise policy, and they've tried to locate the differences between what was the first draft and what was the final draft and what was the final outcome of this liquor policy. And what they've seen is that there are certain very contentious provisions that were part of the final draft but were not part of the original draft. Now that original draft might not have gone to the LG at all. So he would not possibly had the foresight to see that there is a significant difference in what was initially discussed and what was ultimately the outcome, which the CBI has been able to point out. And it is on the basis of this that the CBI has arrested him under Section 7 of the Prevention of Corruption Act. Now what they are trying to pinpoint, and the reason why they want his custody, is they're trying to get to the bottom of the fact of who exactly was responsible for these changes that were brought into this draft policy. Now, of course, they've gone to Manish Sisodia directly because he was the head of the department, of the excise department at that time, and he was the one who was in the know-how of all of the things that were happening regarding the excise policy, and also the person who was signing off on this excise policy. So there is no way that any changes could have been brought to it without Manish Sisodia being informed about it. Now, whether Manish Sisodia was just informed or whether he was the mastermind behind these changes that were brought into this draft policy
that has to
is
be
what the CBI
established,
is
of
trying to
course.
assert.
Nalini, stay with us. In fact, Manish Pandey is right outside the CBI headquarters as well. Manish, here we see that Manish Sisodia's counsel is arguing this policy wasn't even implemented. It was scrapped, withdrawn by the government only because doubts were raised regarding it. So considering that this is a state subject, it were the officials who brought this, the final draft was presented before the Delhi LG, he had to approve it. Where was the Delhi administration in the wrong? They've not even implemented this policy in the first place.
Well, Nabila, these are interesting arguments happening before the court as the CBI is seeking Manish Sisodia's custody. Now, as far as this ground is concerned, remember, this is one of the grounds based on which the CBI decided to arrest Manish Sisodia. This is one of the grounds on the basis of which the CBI wants custody of Manish Sisodia, and now there is a counter from Manish Sisodia's lawyer. Now, what Manish Sisodia is saying about the leakage, Manish Sisodia's lawyers are saying about the leakage of excise policy. What CBI is saying that this policy was leaked to the important players who wanted to do business in Delhi, the business in liquor. Now, this is why this is a ground for CBI, because they have retrieved the WhatsApp chat, and in those WhatsApp chat, Vijay Nair was the person who sent this draft copy of excise policy to certain accused, including Samir Mahendru. Now, that the CBI has retrieved that WhatsApp chat, and the draft policy was sent to those people. But CBI is making a case here that this draft policy was changed on the instructions of Manish Sisodia only because they wanted to ensure that the businessmen who want to do business in Delhi, they could get maximum benefit, and that is why the profit, which was earlier 5% in the earlier policy, it was increased to 12%. That's the case CBI is making. But the lawyer is arguing, lawyers of Manish Sisodia are arguing that if there is a policy which they are contemplating, they can take public opinion. And the same policy was even sent to LG. So there was no wrongdoing. Now here there is a, we have to read between the lines what the CBI is trying to say and what the lawyers of Manish Sisodia are defending at this point of time. Apart from these grounds also, remember Nabila, and why this ground is important, because it is all about the excise policy which was formulated and implemented by the Aam Aadmi Party, especially under leadership of Manish Sisodia. Now, as far as this policy is concerned, remember, it was the Aam Aadmi Party which brought it, and later on there was an investigation by the Central Bureau of Investigation. So this entire excise policy is under scrutiny of CBI. Apart from this particular ground, what CBI is also mentioning, and the first ground was the destruction of evidence. And here, because there is Section 120B criminal conspiracy, CBI has the upper hand. Why I am saying this? Because CBI has gone on to an extent of saying that Manish Sisodia, while this policy was implemented, he changed or used at least 11 phones, and those phones were either destroyed or it was misplaced. Also, they are talking about one phone which Mr. Manish Sisodia was using in January 2020. Now, CBI has told the court that they want a particular phone which was used by Manish Sisodia. Of course, he has handed over a phone, but this is not the same phone which they are looking for, and that is why custodial interrogation is important. So interesting arguments. The lawyers of Manish Sisodia are defending the allegations leveled by the Central Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah,
but
of course.
at the same
Manish,
time,
stay with us. Pooja Shali also right outside the Rouse Avenue court. Pooja, here you have the counsel of Manish claiming that the arrest itself is for ulterior motives, and considering that this is an assault to an individual and institution, this is a fit case for the court to cancel the remand. It's a strong, of course, a strong argument being put forth by the counsel of Manish Sisodia at this point, but even the CBI, on the contrary, has enough and more allegations to ensure that he remains in custody. What's the mahal right outside the Rouse Avenue court? Do we see any kind of protest by the Aam Aadmi supporters?
Would you like to say something, Manish? Would you like to say something, Manish?
Well, first, interesting live arguments inside, Nabila, isn't it? Because what the counsels for Manish Sisodia are doing is they are putting back on the court of the CBI and also of the Lieutenant Governor. They are saying Lieutenant Governor also made changes. Why is that not being considered? Even though it was a state subject, we took the approval of Lieutenant Saxena, and he did give that approval to make changes. So they are basically saying that it's not just us. If you want to hold any accountability, hold it to the Lieutenant Governor as well. But they're also adding that at this point, we are a public servant, referring to Manish Sisodia, who's a serving minister with some of the most important portfolios, and that this is an important point at hand. The situation is sensitive. This is not a case fit for remand. The question is if arrest and the judge has asked, I must add here, the judge has asked, question is if arrest and custodial interrogation is allowed or not. Sisodia's lawyer has said this case is an assault to individual, the institution. Remand will send a wrong message. It is a fit case for you to decline the remand. That is what the counsel for Sisodia has said. We have big news coming in, and we'll just try and put forth, but I just want to add here what Sisodia's lawyers have said, that what changed yesterday, that a finance minister of the state had to be arrested. What big news
coming in, it appears that the order on Manish Sisodia has been reserved. The court reserves the order on Manish Sisodia, even as arguments were being made by Manish Sisodia's counsel, claiming that Sisodia is innocent. He, of course, can't be forced to admit to a crime which he hasn't done. Several points raised by Manish Sisodia's counsel. I'm going to cut across to Nalini for more on that. Nalini, a quick word. The court reserves the order on Manish Sisodia. What does this mean?
Well, it means that the arguments have completed, Nabila. Both the CBI and Manish Sisodia's defense team have completed their arguments, and the judge has retired into his chamber to now deliberate upon these arguments. And maybe in an hour or so from now, we can expect for the order to be pronounced. It is crucial that the order be pronounced today itself, because yesterday Manish Sisodia was placed under arrest by the CBI. He had to be produced before the court within 24 hours, which the CBI has done. And now the special CBI court at Rouse Avenue will decide whether or not CBI will get that 5 days of custody of Manish Sisodia as they have been asking for. The judge right now has retired into his chamber. It will take him some time to draft the order and to deliberate upon the arguments that have been made. But one thing before retiring into the chamber, one thing that the judge has made clear is that he'll be looking into only the aspect of whether or not any remand should be granted in this case, which means, is there a requirement for Manish Sisodia to be under CBI custody so that he can face questioning in this case. So the CBI's case and what arguments they've put forth before the court are going to be extremely crucial, because if the court finds that this Manish Sisodia has in fact been cooperating with the CBI, has been forthcoming with all of the disclosures that he's made, then there will be no reason to keep him in custody and to allow custodial interrogation. But if any of the arguments that the CBI has put forth has held any water with the CBI court, then they are going to allow at least few days of custody to the CBI so that they can dig a little bit further and they can get to the bottom of exactly how much Manish Sisodia was involved in the drafting and the implementation of the excise policy. Now the CBI of course is alleging that his involvement was very crucial. He was one of the main men behind the liquor policy because he was the head of the department at that time. But as to whether or not the court has accepted and agreed to that is something that we'll know only in a few minutes from now, once the the order is pronounced. The order no doubt will be pronounced today itself, Nabila. They will have to give the order today as to whether or not he is going to be released on bail or whether he is going to be sent to police custody or judicial custody.
Right.
But the CBI, of course, hoping that those 5 days of police custody will be granted and that they'll be able to extract something relevant in these 5 days' time, which will allow them to take more custody in the coming few days.
Nalini, if I could ask you to slightly elaborate for us and clarify, here is a Delhi liquor policy, an excise policy that's been scrapped by the government after questions were raised on its irregularity. It wasn't even implemented. So the CBI investigation is on the intent with which this policy was drafted. Considering it wasn't implemented, does that cut any slack for the Aam Aadmi Party in the court of law?
Well, Nabila, I stated this earlier also. If you go back and you see the press release that was issued by the CBI makes it very clear that what they are investigating are two things in this case. One, the drafting of this policy, and two, the implementation of this policy. So the drafting of the policy comes first. Now, what they are essentially trying to pinpoint is as to whether or not this policy was drafted in a way so that it could benefit certain businessmen or certain companies that were indulging in liquor trade, liquor sale, so that they could get some undue benefits of this policy, through which further kickbacks were given to the Aam Aadmi Party. So just by doing that, just by tweaking the policy to favor certain individuals, will be intent or mens rea enough for the CBI to make out a case that there was a possibility of Manish Sisodia receiving some sort of an illegal gratification under the Prevention of Corruption Act, because of which he has been made an accused in this entire case. But at the same time, because the policy had never been implemented itself, so whether or not there were actually any beneficiaries of this policy is something that is going to be revealed only in the later stages of the investigation, once this Manish Sisodia saga is done with and the CBI has interrogated him, has gone to the bottom of exactly what his involvement was. Another important thing that the CBI said during this entire course of arguments is that Manish Sisodia, considering the position that he holds as the Delhi Deputy CM and the number of portfolios that fall under him, is a very influential person. So in case he is not remanded to police custody and let out on bail instead, then the investigation for the CBI might get hampered, because Manish Sisodia might indulge in some sort of tampering of evidence, because of which some crucial digital evidence may be compromised upon. So that is one of the strongest grounds that the CBI is relying on to seek Manish Sisodia's custody. But at the same time, the defense team of Manish Sisodia has also put up a very strong case. They've said that just because Manish Sisodia is not giving the answers that the CBI wants to hear does not mean he's not cooperating with the investigation. In fact, every time that he's appeared before the CBI, he's done it in a grand way. He's shown it to the entire country that he's cooperating with the CBI. The statements that have come in from the Aam Aadmi Party, from the Aam Aadmi Party top echelons, including Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia themselves, they've time and again said that they will cooperate with every investigating agency, and whatever the agency has, they can put forth the questions before them. So there is no backing down that Manish Sisodia has done. At least that's what his legal team says.
Right, if you could clarify for us in that case, boiling down right after the arguments were presented in court, it appears before the judge reserved the verdict here, the judge is said to have mentioned whether or not the question of arrest and custodial interrogation is allowed in the first place or not. That's more or less going to be the premise with which the court is going to give their verdict in a while to come. What does that really mean?
Well, remember, Nabila, it was Manish Sisodia's defense team that had argued that this is a case where remand should not be allowed, that the remand should not be allowed at all and the case should be thrown out. Instead, Manish Sisodia should be let out on bail. So that is the main crux of what the judge said, that he is going to adjudicate on whether or not this is a fit case for remand, whether remand should be granted to the CBI where custodial interrogation should be allowed, or whether he should be allowed out on interim bail on his wife's medical condition and due to those obvious reasons. So that is the main thing that the judge said before retiring into his chamber, that is the one aspect that he is going to decide on. But the reason why it's going to be important is because even if the CBI gets just 2 or 3 days of remand for Manish Sisodia, those 2 or 3 days are going to be an extremely crucial time for them to get cracking on this case, because it's the first time that they will have the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister in their custody in the excise policy scam. They will be able to question him in a pressurized environment and hope to get some sort of better answers from Manish Sisodia. On the other hand, if Manish Sisodia is as innocent as he is claiming and he continues to stick to his guns and say that even though he's cooperating with the agency, he is not going to outrightly come and confess to whatever they want him to confess to, because he has a right against self-incrimination, is that something again we will have to wait and watch out for once Manish Sisodia's order comes in from the Rouse Avenue Court. The judge is going to be deliberating on these aspects. The two main things that he is going to be deliberating on is, one, whether there is any possibility of evidence tampering if Manish Sisodia is not sent to custody, and two, whether there is any possibility of Manish Sisodia not cooperating with the investigation. Of course, there is no possibility of him fleeing or absconding in this case, considering that he is not only a top political leader in this country, but he also holds the post of the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, along with several other portfolios within the Delhi government.
Yeah.
So considering he holds a substantial public office, it's not possible for him to go ahead and flee or abscond in any manner. So that's not going to be a concern that the court will be looking into. But yes, evidence tampering and cooperating with the agency are going to be the two main tests that the court is going to judge on as to whether or not this remand should in fact be granted to to CBI or not.
All right, Nalini, a quick word, as a final word, how long before which the verdict will come out? We know it's reserved now. How long is it likely before the judges pronounce the
Would you like
verdict?
to say something, Manish? You have been arrested and there's a massive protest which is also going on.
Well, Nabi, we can't speculate, of course, at this point. But from what past instances have suggested, it's going to be at least an hour. It may be more, it may be closer to 6 p.m. that we might see an order, but it might be earlier also as well. It completely depends on where the judge's mind is at this point and how convinced he was of the arguments that were put forth before him. The hearing, of course, wasn't too long. The hearing lasted just about an hour, if I'm not wrong.
All right, Nalini, thank you very much, though. I'm going to thank our reporters, Manish Pandey, Pooja Shali, also Nalini, for really tracking all those developments. And India Today really on top of this story here, bringing you every detail. Manish Sisodia, Deputy Chief Minister, who's under arrest by the CBI. They're asking for a 5-day custody in court. The court has reserved its verdict. In a little while from now, an answer will come out, whether he remains in jail or receives bail. On that note, I'm going to slip into a short break. We'll be right back.
You are watching India Today.
India Today Conclave 2023, March 17th and 18th, New Delhi. Listen to Janvi Kapoor, Malaika Arora, Anita Sengupta, Abha Adams, Hajar Chena Ramani, Dr. Ruha Shadab. The India Moment.
Behind you, I can see a queue already. How does it look like? Any age group that we are looking at right now? And good morning. How is Meghalaya treating you this morning, Indrajit?
Well, good morning, Pooja. The scenes here in any states in the Northeast during election is very different from what we see in the rest of the country, because genuinely the mood is always celebratory. And what we are seeing here at this polling center in Shillong, of course, is that it's early in the morning. It's barely 7:30, but huge number of people have already started lining up at the polling booths. And Meghalaya does have a history, because if you see the turnout that happened last time in 2018, it was more than 86%. So the buzz, of course, is, and Election Commission hopes that they will be able to set a new record and breach the last time landmark of more than 86% votes. 21 lakh, voters, out of which more than 50% are women voters. And as you can see, I'll ask Orgo, my camera person, to show. Look at this queue of women voters here at this polling station in Shillong that clearly shows the enthusiastic participation of women in this entire electoral process. Women voters make more than 50% of the electorate, 21 lakh voters. There are also 81,000 new young voters who have registered. So that's the youth who will also set the tune as far as this election is concerned. And of course, there are more than 3,400 booths, 119 companies of central paramilitary forces that have been deployed. But I would like to show you in general the area, this college here, because as we generally speak, in other states you would see massive amount of security deployment that's visible outside polling stations. Here, as I said, look at people, they're all happy, they're engaged in the morning, and I generally don't see too many security personnel waiting outside at this polling station. So that's the essential difference, Pooja, as far as elections in the Northeast and other parts of the country are concerned.
First exit poll in 2023 state of war. Votes close, suspense begins. Who's winning Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland?
We would like to be king, not a kingmaker.
Race for the numbers poll quay. The only exit poll India trusts. Channel with the #1 exit poll strike rate. State of war, exact poll.
You are watching India Today.
We have some big breaking news coming in. A man who was accused in Umesh Pal murder case was killed in an encounter. The latest development here, as reports coming in that this man named Arbaz has been killed in an encounter. He's been identified as Arbaz, and this encounter took place at Nehru Park in Prayagraj. Arbaz was one of the accused in Umesh's murder case, which took place on Friday evening at his residence in Prayagraj. In fact, Umesh was the prime witness in the 2005 BSP MLA Raju Pal's murder case, and now the accused Arbaz has been shot dead in an encounter in Prayagraj. Latest information coming in. Let me cut across to the ADGP speaking on the same.
उत्तर प्रदेश शासन और उत्तर प्रदेश पुलिस के द्वारा सभी ऐसे पेशेवर, माफिया एवं गैंगस्टर लोगों के खिलाफ एक अभियान छेड़ा गया है और ऐसे शातिर और पेशेवर व्यक्तियों को संरक्षण देने वालों के विरुद्ध भी धारा 120B के तहत कार्रवाई की जाएगी। जो लोग भी ऐसे लोगों को पनाह देंगे, संरक्षण देंगे, वो इनके कृत्य में भागीदार होंगे। उत्तर प्रदेश पुलिस सबसे अपील करती है कि अगर कोई भी व्यक्ति आपसे संरक्षण मांगे जो कि गलत व्यक्ति है तो इसकी तत्काल सूचना स्थानीय पुलिस को दे। आपका नाम गोपनीय रखा जाएगा।
All right, let me quickly cut across to our reporter there who's been tracking that development for us. Santosh Sharma. Santosh, if you can tell us a little more about this encounter that's taken place. We believe that Arbaz, the key accused in Umesh Pal's murder case, has been killed in an encounter.
Actually, Arbaz is the driver of that Creta car on which the shooters were arrived, and the incident took place before the Umesh Pal residence on Friday evening. And from that day, the Prayagraj police was chasing those criminals, and after getting a tip-off of Arbaz, who's a resident of Prayagraj, they got that UP police or Prayagraj, especially the SOG team, got a tip-off that Arbaz is there in a Nehru Park. I am residing here, and this is the Nehru Park, and where Arbaz was going through an unplated, unnumbered bike. After a chase, Arbaz was killed in an encounter, and one policeman of Dhumanganj police station is also injured. We can say after Umesh Pal murder, it is a big breakthrough for the Prayagraj police. This is the first encounter, we can say the first operation which Prayagraj police and the SOG has done completely. And now we can say this is the countdown start of those criminals who have murdered Umesh Pal on Friday evening.
Now, what's the reason for Arbaz to be murdered in an encounter? Was he trying to escape? Give us more information, Santosh, on why the police had to resort to an encounter to gun him down.
Police tried to stop Arbaz, and Arbaz was escaping from the police team as he was surrounded near the Nehru Park. And we can say that Arbaz is very near and very the faithful, loyal to Atiq Ahmed gang, and many more shooters of the Atiq gang were close to Arbaz, and Arbaz was present, and that car, that Creta car by which shooters arrived at the Umesh Pal residence, and where this whole incident occurred on the Friday evening. So we can say the Arbaz was the key role in this whole Umesh Pal murder. And after that, the 7 shooters, those who were captured in the CCTV and all those pictures, the police is also trying to nab them. But Arbaz was so much, we can say, the sharp mind that he never came in front of any CCTV. That's why he knew that if he comes out of the Creta car, he will be captured in the CCTV. So he, when the shooters, whether they were the Ghulam Islam or any other shooter, those who are named in the FIR, when they come out of the car, he speedily drove that car, and from that car, those after committing the crime and murder of Umesh Pal, those shooters were flight off to their destination as there was planning. So we can say the Arbaz was having a key role in Umesh Pal murder.
You know, Arbaz, we believe, was really the main from what we see here. Arbaz was also very close to SP leader Atiq Ahmed. And how will that really change the course of investigation in this case?
Arbaz was very close to Atiq and Atiq gang members, and many more shooters were very close to Arbaz. And one more thing, what the police officers are saying, that Arbaz was especially a specialist driver for Atiq and his family. And when the Umesh Pal murder occurred on the Friday evening, that's the reason Arbaz was driving that Creta car, and he was inside that car by which those shooters arrived. We can say the Atiq, very loyal, Atiq's very faithful. Arbaz was there, and he is a resident of Prayagraj, and after that incident he was trying to get fled off from Prayagraj, but after we can say regularly the raid was going on by the SOG team, and Arbaz was on the tip of SOG team, and in the daytime SOG team got a tip off that Arbaz is there in a Nehru Park, which falls in the Dhumanganj area, and when the chase was going on, he opened fire on the police team, and in an encounter he got many injuries, and after that during the medical treatment he's calmed down, and now we can say that Arbaz, the first encounter is done in Umesh Pal murder case.
All right, stay with us. We have BJP Neta Shalabh joining us. Shalabh ji, here we see that one of the key accused in the case, Arbaz, is seemed to have been gunned down in an encounter by the police in Prayagraj. Tell us a little more on how will this really lead the investigation? Where will this investigation be headed now?
देखिए, अभी तक जो जानकारी मिल रही है उसमें ये है कि ये बहुत ही खूंखार अपराधी था और पुलिस ने जब इसकी घेराबंदी की, पुलिस ने सरेंडर करने को कहा, इसने पुलिस पर फायरिंग की, जैसे इसने उमेश पाल की घटना में अपनी भूमिका अदा की थी। पुलिस पर इसने हमला किया, पुलिस ने आत्मरक्षार्थ गोली चलाई जिसमें ये मारा गया है। और निश्चित तौर पर ऐसे जो अपराधी हैं, जो समाज के लिए हानिकारक है, उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। मुख्यमंत्री जी ने फ्लोर पे कहा था, सदन के भीतर कहा था कि जो भी इस घटना में शामिल होंगे उनको हम मिट्टी में मिलाएंगे। कार्रवाई शुरू हो चुकी है, अभियान शुरू हो चुका है। और हमारे जो संदीप निषाद और उमेश पाल, दो लोग इस पूरी घटना में जो शहीद हुए थे, उमेश पाल जी की हत्या हुई थी और उनका जो गनर था संदीप निषाद, उसने उनको बचाते हुए अपनी जान दे दी थी। उनका निश्चित तौर पर ऐसी घटनाओं का तो हिसाब होना ही चाहिए, कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए और कार्रवाई हो रही है। इसमें एक जो अपराधी है वो मुठभेड़ में मारा गया और मुझे लगता है कि बहुत जल्द जो बाकी अपराधी है उनको भी उनको ये कराएगी, जरूर उनको उसका वो हल मिलेगा, सब उनको उसका नतीजा देखने को मिलेगा।
All right, Shalabh ji, thank you very much. I'm going to quickly cut across to Aam Aadmi Party Neta holding a press conference. Sanjay Singh on Manish Sisodia.
कोई तो संपत्ति मिलती, कोई तो पैसा मिलता, कोई तो कागजात मिलता, लेकिन सिर्फ और सिर्फ राजनीतिक कारणों से और अपने घोटालों पर पर्दा डालने के लिए नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने मनीष सिसोदिया संपत्ति मिलती, कोई तो पैसा मिलता, कोई तो कागजात मिलता, लेकिन सिर्फ और सिर्फ राजनीतिक कारणों से और अपने घोटालों पर पर्दा डालने के लिए नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने मनीष सिसोदिया को गिरफ्तार किया है। अडानी की नौकरी करने वाली मोदी जी की सरकार, जो लाखों करोड़ के घोटाले में फंसी हुई है, 1000-2000 करोड़ के नहीं, लाखों करोड़ के घोटाले में, उससे ध्यान भटकाने के लिए मनीष सिसोदिया पे कार्रवाई की जा रही है। और कब की जा रही है? जब संसद में जेपीसी की मांग हुई कि मोदी अडानी भाई भाई देश बेच के खाई मलाई, जेपीसी बनाओ, अडानी की जांच कराओ। उससे ध्यान हटाना है, कभी इसको नोटिस, कभी उसको नोटिस, और अब जेल में डाल दो मनीष सिसोदिया को। वो अडानी जिसको नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने कोयला दे दिया, गैस दे दिया, बिजली दे दिया, पानी दे दिया, सड़क दे दिया, स्टील दे दिया, सीमेंट दे दिया, सीपोर्ट दे दिया, एयरपोर्ट दे दिया, यानी आकाश से लेकर पाताल तक सब कुछ दे दिया, 2.5 लाख करोड़ का कर्जा दे दिया, 84,000 करोड़ का कर्जा माफ कर दिया। और उस अडानी ने क्या किया हिंदुस्तान के साथ? बगल के मॉरिशस में 6 कंपनियां एक पते पे खोली, फर्जी कंपनियां, और 42,000 करोड़ रुपए का काला धन अपनी कंपनियों में लगाया। और ऐसे ही तमाम करेबियाई देशों में फर्जी कंपनियां खोल के हजारों करोड़ रुपए अपनी कंपनी के अंदर लगाया। यह काला धन किसका है मोदी जी? पूरा देश आपसे पूछ रहा है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी का काला धन है? मोदी जी आपका काला धन है? आपके अधिकारियों का काला धन है? या फिर आतंकवादियों का काला धन है? किसका काला धन है जो अडानी की कंपनी में लगाया? अगर इसकी जांच हो जाएगी तो नरेंद्र मोदी जी का चेहरा पूरे देश के सामने बेनकाब हो जाएगा। और इसी के कारण मनीष सिसोदिया का मामला उठाया गया है। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार, जो पूरे देश में सबसे बेहतरीन काम कर रही है, अनुकरणीय काम कर रही है, लोगों को फ्री बिजली देना, फ्री शिक्षा देना, फ्री स्वास्थ्य की व्यवस्था देना, बुजुर्गों की तीर्थ यात्रा कराना, जनहित के सारे काम करने के बावजूद मुनाफे का बजट देना, दरअसल यह गले की हड्डी बन गया नरेंद्र मोदी जी की। वो नहीं चाहते कि देश के अंदर एक ऐसी सरकार चले जो दुनिया और देश के लिए उदाहरण बने। अमेरिका के राष्ट्रपति की पत्नी हिंदुस्तान आती है तो कहती है हमें अरविंद केजरीवाल के स्कूल देखना है, मनीष सिसोदिया के द्वारा बनाए गए स्कूलों को देखना है। परेशानी यह है कि आज जो दिल्ली सरकार की लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में बढ़ रही है, अरविंद केजरीवाल और आम आदमी पार्टी की लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में बढ़ रही है, उससे बौखला कर यह कार्रवाई की जा रही है। यह तानाशाही की इंतहा है। मैंने कल भी कहा था, आज फिर दोहरा रहा हूं। और मोदी जी, इस तानाशाही का अंत जरूर होगा, क्योंकि पूरा देश देख रहा है कि एक तरफ लाखों करोड़ की लूट करने वाला आपका मित्र अडानी है, जिस पे सीबीआई खामोश, सेबी खामोश, ईडी खामोश, इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट खामोश, उसके पोर्ट से, मुंद्रा पोर्ट से हजारों करोड़ की ड्रग्स पकड़ी गई, सारी की सारी एजेंसियां खामोश। एक तरफ लाखों करोड़ का घोटाला करने वाला अडानी है, आपका मित्र अडानी है मोदी जी, जिसके खिलाफ आप कोई कार्रवाई नहीं करते, और दूसरी तरफ लाखों बच्चों का भविष्य बनाने वाले मनीष सिसोदिया हैं, जिनको आप जेल में डाल रहे हैं। इसलिए लोग आपके साथ इंसाफ जरूर करेंगे, क्योंकि ये लोकतंत्र है, डेमोक्रेसी है, जमहूरियत है। यहां किसी की तानाशाही लंबे समय तक नहीं चल सकती। आप इन मुकदमों से हम लोगों को डरा रहे हैं। पता तो कर लीजिए आम आदमी पार्टी की हिस्ट्री। अरे हम आंदोलन की कोख से पैदा हुई पार्टी हैं। हम अडानी के नौकरों से नहीं डरते। मोदी जी अब हमें जेल का, मुकदमों का, एफआईआर का, गिरफ्तारी का डर दिखाते हैं। कुछ भी कर लीजिए, लेकिन आपके घोटाले को हिंदुस्तान के घर घर में पहुंचाने का काम आम आदमी पार्टी करेगी। इसलिए जितना मुकदमा लिखना है लिखो, जितनी बंदर घुड़की दिखानी है दिखाओ। पूरे देश के सामने मोदी अडानी भाई भाई देश बेच के खाई मलाई के इस रिश्ते को उजागर करेंगे हम लोग। इस प्रकार की कार्रवाइयों से हम रुकने वाले नहीं। आज क्या हुआ हमारे कार्यालय पे? आम आदमी पार्टी एक राष्ट्रीय पार्टी है। दिल्ली देश की राजधानी है, और ये हमारे इस राष्ट्रीय कार्यालय के अंदर आप पुलिस वालों को भेज रहे हैं, या हमारे कार्यकर्ताओं के साथ मारपीट कर रहे हैं, उनको गिरफ्तार कर रहे हैं। ये बहादुरी बेईमानों के खिलाफ आप में क्यों नहीं आती? ये बहादुरी अडानी के खिलाफ क्यों नहीं दिखाते? आम आदमी पार्टी के दफ्तर पे आप छापे मार रहे हैं, पुलिस वालों को भेज रहे हैं यहां अंदर। ये दिन बदलेगा मोदी जी। आपने अच्छा नहीं किया मनीष सिसोदिया के साथ। मनीष सिसोदिया इस देश के करोड़ों बच्चों के दिलों में बसते हैं। इस देश के अभिभावक चाहते हैं कि उनके राज्य का भी शिक्षा मंत्री मनीष सिसोदिया के जैसा हो। दिल्ली के बच्चों को आपने दुखी किया है। बच्चे वैसे भी भगवान होते हैं, और उन नन्हे मुन्ने बच्चों को आपने दुखी किया है, क्योंकि उनके लिए दिन रात काम कर रहे थे मनीष सिसोदिया। तस्वीरें हैं, देख लीजिएगा मोदी जी। 15 के पहले दिल्ली के स्कूलों की क्या हालत थी, और आज अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के और मनीष सिसोदिया जी के प्रयासों से दिल्ली के स्कूलों की क्या हालत है। इसलिए मैं सिर्फ इतना कहना चाहता हूं, तानाशाही का अंत होगा, और इस देश की जनता आपकी तानाशाही का अंत करेगी। आपने अत्याचार, अन्याय और तानाशाही के सारे कीर्तिमान तोड़ दिए। कोई प्रश्न हो आप लोगों का?
पुलिस की कार्रवाई पर क्या कहेंगे? आज इस तरह हुआ, आगे दफ्तर में पुलिस घुसी।
आप सबके कैमरे में कैद है, और ये कार्रवाई दिल्ली पुलिस की नहीं है, ये कार्रवाई मोदी सरकार की है। दिल्ली पुलिस हो, सीबीआई हो, ईडी हो, इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट हो, ये सब मोदी जी के इशारे पे काम करते हैं।
आप लोग को आगे तक जाने
जो कहा जाता है वहां से वही ये लोग करते हैं। इतनी अकल तो दिल्ली पुलिस वालों को भी है कि ऑफिस में किसी के नहीं घुसा जा सकता, लेकिन यहां ऑफिस के अंदर घुस रहे हैं तो किसके कहने पे घुस रहे हैं? कहां से निर्देश मिल रहा है उनको? हम लोग सीबीआई के दफ्तर के पास बहुत कम संख्या में कुछ लोग बैठे हुए थे, कल वहां से उठा लिया। एक कैबिनेट मंत्री, 3 विधायक, 12-13 पार्षद, मुझे हमने कहा क्यों ले आया? कहना आप डिटेन किया है। हमने कहा कितनी देर? बोले पता नहीं। तो तानाशाही है, सवाल आप कर नहीं सकते। लगभग 24 घंटे तक हम लोगों को बिना किसी कारण के थाने में डिटेन करके रखा गया और बाद में सुबह कहा गया कि जाइए। तो ये सब अपने मर्जी से थोड़ी कर रहे हैं पुलिस वाले। इनको जो ऊपर से कहा जाता है वही करते हैं लोग।
आप लोग अपना प्रोटेस्ट यहाँ पर जारी रखेंगे अभी या अभी?
अब आगे फैसला आने दीजिए, सीबीआई कोर्ट का फैसला क्या आता है तो आगे की रणनीति फिर हम लोग आपको बताएंगे।
विपक्ष की तरफ से लगभग तमाम पार्टियों ने और खासकर के कई राज्यों के मुख्यमंत्रियों ने आपके समर्थन में बयान दिया है, लेकिन कांग्रेस पार्टी इस गिरफ्तारी को चेयर कर रही है इस वक्त।
देखिए, कांग्रेस पार्टी का चरित्र इनसे मिलता जुलता है। इसी प्रकार की तानाशाही इमरजेंसी के दौरान कांग्रेस ने भी किया है। इसी प्रकार की कार्रवाई और दुरुपयोग सीबीआई का, ईडी का पहले कांग्रेस भी कर चुकी है।
संजय सिंह of
तो
the Aam Aadmi
कांग्रेस का
Party.
मामला तो
BJP's intention, the central agency's intention, saying that if Gautam Adani could be let off after borrowing thousands of crores from the banks, and yet they're focusing on Manish Sisodia, who's done such good to the community. This shows the vindictive politics being played by the BJP. Sanjay Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party holding that presser. This is what's expected through the day, as the order on Manish Sisodia's custody with the CBI has been reserved. It's going to be coming out anytime soon. India Today continues to track those developments. For now, a short break.
You are watching India Today.
Another Kashmiri Hindu butchered. Pakistan-backed terrorists have gunned down a Kashmiri Pandit. Terrorists on Saturday shot dead a 40-year-old Kashmiri Pandit man in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama district while he was on his way to a local market. Sanjay Sharma was working as a bank security guard. He was shot in the chest at point-blank range in the Anchan area.
ये दोनों मियाँ बीवी जा रहे थे वहाँ पे शॉपिंग करने के लिए। उनको जम्मू जाना था कि बीवी अचानक वो रेडीमेड गारमेंट में चली गई दुकान पे। पीछे से एक बंदा आया, उसको गोली मार के हला कर दिया।
Sharma, who was critically injured in the attack, was rushed to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. The entire area was cordoned off to nab the attackers.
जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन चल रही है उसके हिसाब से जैसे जैसे हमारे पास क्लू सामने आए हैं उनको हम फॉलो कर रहे हैं और इनको हम टेररिस्ट जो हैं इसमें मुलविस उनको हम जल्दी ट्रैक डाउन करके न्यूट्रलाइज कर देंगे।
Family members of the deceased remain inconsolable. Locals in the area also staged a protest against the targeted killings in the valley and demanded justice for Sanjay Sharma.
हमारा इस्लाम बदनाम हो रहा है। इस्लाम में कहीं पर ये दर्ज नहीं है कि आप खून नाहक बहाओ। लिहाजा हम रो रो के बोल रहे हैं, जिसने भी ये किया बहुत खून नाहक किया, बहुत बड़ा गुनाह किया।
Meanwhile, politics has erupted over this issue. Several political parties slammed the Modi government's claims of normalcy in the valley and accused the BJP of using Kashmiri Pandits for politics.
फेलियर ही नहीं, वो इस्तेमाल करती हैं इनको यहाँ पर इनकी मौजूदगी को वो दिखाना चाहती है यहाँ सब कुछ ठीक ठाक है, और जब इनको टारगेट किया जाता है तो पूरे मुल्क के अंदर मुसलमानों को बदनाम करती है।
जम्मू कश्मीर उपराज्यपाल प्रशासन पूरी तरह से फेल साबित हुआ है, लेकिन सरकार पे यह सवाल पैदा होता है कि सरकार यह बताए कि आखिर इन लोगों की सुरक्षा करने में सरकार क्यों नाकामयाब रही है।
जो बेचारे हमारे मुलाजिम पंडित जम्मू में आजकल हैं, उनसे मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि गवर्नमेंट से कि इनको तब तक यहाँ मत लाइए जब तक पूरी सुरक्षा नहीं होगी। अभी भी आतंकवाद है। ये जो कहते हैं कि आतंकवाद खत्म हो गया, आतंकवाद खत्म नहीं हुआ है, आतंकवाद है।
There has been a series of attacks on Kashmiri Pandits and other members of the minority community in the valley have picked up since October 2021.
Today morning, when this Kashmiri Pandit who was working as a bank guard in the Pathan Bank branch was shot by the terrorists with the close range, and he was shifted to the Pulwama hospital where he succumbed to the injuries. Meanwhile, the security forces have coordinated off the whole area to nab the attackers. TRF, the resistance front, which is
आजकल हमारे देश में, कर्नाटका में स्टार्टअप्स की खूब चर्चा होती है, लेकिन एक तरह से देखे तो बेलगावी में तो 100 साल पहले ही स्टार्टअप्स की शुरुआत हो गई थी। 100 साल पहले। मैं आपको याद कराने आया हूं, बाबूराव पुसालकर जी ने 100 साल पहले यहां एक छोटी सी यूनिट की स्थापना की थी। तब से बेलगावी अनेक तरह की इंडस्ट्री के लिए इतना बड़ा बेस बन गया है। बेलगावी की इसी भूमिका ने डबल इंजन सरकार इस दशक में और सशक्त करना चाहती है। भाइयों और बहनों, आज जिन प्रोजेक्ट का लोकार्पण और शिलान्यास किया गया है, उनसे बेलगावी के विकास में नई गति आएगी। सैकड़ों करोड़ रुपए के प्रोजेक्ट्स कनेक्टिविटी से जुड़े हैं, पानी की व्यवस्था से जुड़े हुए हैं। आप सभी को इन सारी विकास की योजनाओं के लिए इस क्षेत्र की प्रगति का एक मजबूत गति देने के इस अवसर पर मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। आज बेलगावी से पूरे हिंदुस्तान को भी भेंट सौगात मिली है। हिंदुस्तान के हर किसानों को आज कर्नाटका से जोड़ा है, बेलगावी से जोड़ा है। आज यहां से पीएम किसान सम्मान निधि की एक और किस्त भेजी गई है। सिर्फ एक ही बटन दबाकर, एक ही क्लिक पर देश के करोड़ों किसानों के बैंक खाते में 16,000 करोड़ रुपए पहुंचे हैं। यहां जो मेरे रायतू बंधु है ना, वो अपना मोबाइल देखेंगे तो मैसेज आ गया होगा। दुनिया के लोगों को भी अजूबा होता है, और इतनी बड़ी रकम 16,000 करोड़ रुपया पल भर में, और कोई बिचौलिया नहीं, कोई कटकी कंपनी नहीं, कोई करप्शन नहीं, सीधा सीधा किसान के खाते में। अगर कांग्रेस के राज होता तो प्रधानमंत्री कहते थे कांग्रेस के कि 1 रुपया भेजते हैं 15 पैसा पहुंचता है। अगर आज उन्होंने 16,000 करोड़ का सोचा होता तो आप सोचिए 12-13 हजार करोड़ रुपया कहीं गायब हो गया होता। लेकिन ये मोदी की सरकार है। पाई पाई आपकी है, आपके लिए है। मैं कर्नाटका सहित पूरे देश के किसान भाई बहनों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। होली के त्योहार के पहले मेरे किसानों को ये होली की भी शुभकामनाएं हैं। भाई और बहनों, आज का बदलता हुआ भारत हर वंचित को वरीयता देते हुए एक के बाद एक विकास के काम कर रहा है। हमारे देश में दशकों तक छोटे किसानों को भी नजरअंदाज किया गया था। भारत में 80-85% छोटे किसान हैं। अब यही छोटे किसान भाजपा सरकार की प्राथमिकता में है। पीएम किसान सम्मान निधि के माध्यम से अब तक देश के छोटे किसानों के बैंक खातों में करीब करीब 2.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए जमा कराए जा चुके हैं। आप बोलेंगे कितने किए? 2.5 लाख करोड़। कितने 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 2.5 लाख करोड़ रुपया किसानों के बैंक खातों में जमा हुए हैं। इसमें भी 50,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा पैसे हमारी जो माताएं बहनें किसानी के करती हैं उनके खाते में जमा हुए हैं। ये पैसे किसानों की छोटी छोटी जरूरतों को पूरा कर रहे हैं। इन खर्चों के लिए अब उन्हें किसी दूसरे के सामने हाथ नहीं फैलाना पड़ता, ब्याज खाऊ लोगों के शरण नहीं जाना पड़ता, बहुत ऊंचा ब्याज देकर के रुपये नहीं लेने पड़ते। साथियों, साल 2014 के बाद से देश लगातार कृषि में एक सार्थक बदलाव की तरफ बढ़ रहा है। भाजपा सरकार में हम कृषि को आधुनिकता से जोड़ रहे हैं, कृषि को भविष्य के लिए तैयार कर रहे हैं। साल 2014 में जब देश ने हमें सेवा करने का अवसर दिया तो भारत का कृषि के लिए बजट, ये आंकड़ा याद रखोगे आप लोग? याद रखोगे? जरा जोर से तो बोलिए, याद रखोगे? देखिए, जब हम आए थे 2014 में सेवा के लिए, आपने मौका दिया था, तब भारत का कृषि बजट 25,000 करोड़ रुपए था। कितना कितना? इस वर्ष हमारा कृषि बजट 1,25,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा है, यानी 5 गुना ज्यादा बढ़ोतरी हुई है। ये दिखाता है कि बीजेपी सरकार किसानों को मदद करने के लिए कितनी गंभीर है, कितनी सक्रिय है। हमने टेक्नोलॉजी पर बल दिया, जिसका लाभ भी किसानों को हो रहा है। आप कल्पना कर सकते हैं, अगर जनधन बैंक खाते ना होते, मोबाइल कनेक्शन न बढ़ता, आधार न होता, तो क्या ये सब संभव होता? क्या हमारी सरकार
ज्यादा से ज्यादा किसानों को किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड से भी जोड़ रही है। कोशिश यही है कि किसानों के पास बैंक से मदद पाने की सुविधा लगातार रहे, हमेशा रहे। साथियों, इस वर्ष का बजट हमारी खेती की आज की स्थिति के साथ साथ भविष्य की जरूरतों को भी एड्रेस करता है। आज की जरूरत भंडारण की है, स्टोरेज की है, कृषि में आने वाली लागत को कम करने की है, छोटे किसानों को संगठित करने की है। इसलिए बजट में सैकड़ों नई भंडारण सुविधाएं बनाने पर बल दिया गया है। इसके साथ साथ सहकारिता के स्तर पर विस्तार करके उसका पर हमने अभूतपूर्व फोकस किया है। प्राकृतिक खेती को प्रमोट करने के लिए भी अनेक कदम उठाए गए हैं। प्राकृतिक खेती से किसान की लागत में बहुत कमी आने वाली है। नेचुरल खेती में किसानों को सबसे बड़ी समस्या खाद और कीटनाशक बनाने में आती है। अब इसमें किसानों को मदद करने के लिए हजारों सहायता केंद्र बनाए जाएंगे। किसान की लागत बढ़ाने में केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर की भूमिका अधिक होती है। अब हमने किसानों के लिए पीएम प्रणाम योजना शुरू की है। इसके माध्यम से केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर का प्रयोग कम करने वाले राज्यों को केंद्र से अतिरिक्त मदद मिलेगी। भाइयों और बहनों, हम देश की कृषि को भविष्य की चुनौतियों को देखते हुए हमारी पूरी इस किसानी ग्रामीण अर्थव्यवस्था इसमें नए प्राण लाने के लिए हम कृतनिश्चयी हैं, बल दे रहे हैं। क्लाइमेट चेंज के कारण कितनी समस्या आ रही है, ये हमारा किसान आज अनुभव कर रहा है। इसलिए अब हमें अपनी पुरानी परंपराओं की ताकत को फिर से याद करना होगा। हमारा मोटा अनाज, और मैं तो देख रहा था मोटे अनाज की सुंदरता भी कितनी अच्छी है। हमारा मोटा अनाज हर मौसम, हर परिस्थिति को झेलने में सक्षम है और ये सुपर फूड है। मोटा अनाज सुपर फूड है, ये अधिक पोषक भी होता है। इसलिए इस वर्ष के बजट में हमने मोटे अनाज को श्री अन्न के रूप में नई पहचान दी है। और कर्नाटका तो श्री अन्न के मामले में दुनिया का एक बड़ा केंद्र और सशक्त केंद्र है। यहां तो श्री अन्न को पहले से ही श्री धान्य कहा जाता है। अनेक प्रकार के श्री अन्न यहां का किसान उगाता है। कर्नाटका की बीजेपी सरकार हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में इसके लिए किसानों को मदद भी देती है। मुझे याद है कि रैता बंधु येदियुरप्पा जी ने श्री अन्न को प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए यहां कितना बड़ा अभियान चलाया था। अब हमें इस श्री अन्न को पूरी दुनिया में पहुंचाना है। श्री अन्न को उगाने में लागत भी कम है और पानी भी कम लगता है। इसलिए ये छोटे किसानों को डबल बेनिफिट देने वाला है। साथियों, इस क्षेत्र में गन्ने की पैदावार खूब होती है। भाजपा सरकार ने हमेशा गन्ना किसानों के हितों को सर्वोपरि रखा है। इस साल के बजट में भी गन्ना किसानों से जुड़ा एक अहम फैसला लिया गया है। शुगर कोऑपरेटिव्स द्वारा 2016-17 के पहले के गए पेमेंट पर टैक्स में छूट दी गई है और इससे शुगर कोऑपरेटिव के ऊपर जो 10,000 करोड़ रुपए का बोझ था, जो यूपीए सरकार उनके सर पे डाल के गई थी, उन 10,000 करोड़ रुपए का फायदा ये मेरी शुगर कोऑपरेटिव को होने वाला है। आप सभी को ये भी पता है कि हमारी सरकार इथेनॉल के उत्पादन पर कितना जोर दे रही है। इथेनॉल का उत्पादन बढ़ने से गन्ना किसानों की आय भी बढ़ रही है। बीते 9 वर्षों में पेट्रोल में इथेनॉल की ब्लेंडिंग को बढ़ाकर 1.5% से 10% किया जा चुका है। अब सरकार पेट्रोल में 20% इथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग का लक्ष्य लेकर चल रही है। जितना ही देश इस दिशा में आगे बढ़ेगा, उतना ही हमारे गन्ना किसानों को भी फायदा होगा। भाइयों और बहनों, खेती हो, इंडस्ट्री हो, टूरिज्म हो, बेहतर शिक्षा हो, बेहतर स्वास्थ्य हो, ये सब कुछ अच्छी कनेक्टिविटी से और सशक्त होते हैं। इसलिए बीते वर्षों में हम कर्नाटका की कनेक्टिविटी पर बहुत अधिक फोकस कर रहे हैं। 2014 से पहले के 5 वर्षों में कर्नाटका में रेलवे का बजट कुल मिलाकर 4,000 करोड़ रुपए था, जबकि इस वर्ष कर्नाटका में रेलवे के लिए 7,500 करोड़ रुपए रखे गए हैं। इस वक्त कर्नाटका में रेलवे के लगभग 45,000 करोड़ रुपए के प्रोजेक्ट पर काम चल रहा है। आप सोच सकते हैं कि इसके कारण कर्नाटका में कितने लोगों को रोजगार मिल रहा है। बेळगावी का आधुनिक रेलवे स्टेशन देखकर हर किसी को आश्चर्य भी होता है, हर किसी को गर्व भी होता है। इस आधुनिक रेलवे स्टेशन से यहां सुविधाएं तो अधिक हुई है, रेलवे को लेकर विश्वास भी बढ़ रहा है। ऐसे शानदार स्टेशन पहले लोग विदेशों में ही देखते थे, अब भारत में भी ऐसे स्टेशन बन रहे हैं। कर्नाटका के अनेक स्टेशनों का, रेलवे स्टेशनों का ऐसे ही आधुनिक अवतार में सामने लाया जा रहा है। लौंदा घाटप्रभा लाइन की डबलिंग से अब सफर तेज होगा और सुरक्षित होगा। इसी प्रकार जिन नई रेल लाइनों पर आज काम शुरू हुआ है, वे भी इस क्षेत्र में रेल नेटवर्क को सशक्त करेगी। बेळगावी तो एजुकेशन, हेल्थ और टूरिज्म के लिहाज से एक बड़ा सेंटर है। ऐसे में अच्छी रेल कनेक्टिविटी से इन सेक्टर्स को भी लाभ होगा। भाइयों और बहनों, भाजपा की डबल इंजन सरकार तेज विकास की गारंटी है। डबल इंजन सरकार कैसे काम करती है, इसका उदाहरण जल जीवन मिशन है। साल 2019 तक कर्नाटका के गांवों में सिर्फ 25% परिवारों के पास घर में नल से पानी के लिए कनेक्शन था। आज कर्नाटका में नल से जल की कवरेज डबल इंजन सरकार के कारण, हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जी के सक्रिय प्रयासों के कारण आज कवरेज 60% से अधिक हो चुकी है। यहां बेळगावी के भी 2 लाख से भी कम घरों में नल से जल आता था। आज ये संख्या 4.5 लाख पर पार कर चुकी है। हमारी गांव की बहनों को पानी के लिए भटकना न पड़े, सिर्फ इसी के लिए ही इस बजट में 60,000 करोड़ रुपए दिए गए हैं। भाइयों और बहनों, बीजेपी सरकार समाज के हर उस छोटे से छोटे वर्ग को सशक्त करने में जुटी है जिसकी पहले की सरकारों ने सूद नहीं ली थी। बेलगावी तो कारीगरों, हस्तशिल्पियों का शहर रहा है। ये तो वेणुग्राम यानी बांस के गांव के रूप में मशहूर रहा है। आप याद कीजिए, पहले की सरकारों ने लंबे समय तक बांस की कटाई पर रोक लगा दी थी। हमने कानून बदला और बांस की खेती और व्यापार के रास्ते खोल दिए। इसका बहुत बड़ा लाभ बांस का काम करने वाले कलाकारों को हुआ है। बांस के अलावा यहां दूसरे क्राफ्ट का काम भी खूब होता है। इस वर्ष के बजट में पहली बार ऐसे साथियों के लिए हम पीएम विश्वकर्मा योजना लेकर आए हैं। इस योजना से ऐसे सभी साथियों को हर प्रकार की मदद दी जाएगी। साथियों, आज जब मैं बेलगावी आया हूं तो एक और विषय पर अपनी बात रखना जरूर चाहूंगा। मैं आपको याद दिलाना चाहता हूं कि कांग्रेस किस तरह कर्नाटका से नफरत करती है। कर्नाटका के नेताओं का अपमान कांग्रेस की पुरानी संस्कृति का हिस्सा है। जिस किसी से भी कांग्रेस के परिवार विशेष को दिक्कत होने लगती है, उसकी कांग्रेस में बेइज्जती शुरू कर दी जाती है। इतिहास गवाह है कि कांग्रेस परिवार के आगे एस निजलिंगप्पा और वीरेंद्र पाटिल जी जैसे नेताओं का अपमान कैसा किया गया था, हर कर्नाटक के लोग जानते हैं। अब एक बार फिर कांग्रेस का एक विशेष परिवार के आगे कर्नाटका के एक और नेता का अपमान किया गया है। साथियों, इसी धरती के संतान 50 वर्ष जिनका संसदीय कार्यकाल रहा है, ऐसे श्रीमान मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे जी का मैं बहुत सम्मान करता हूं। उन्होंने जनता की सेवा में अपने से जो कुछ भी हुआ करने का प्रयास किया है। लेकिन उस दिन मैं देखकर बहुत दुखी हो गया जब कांग्रेस का अभी अधिवेशन चल रहा था छत्तीसगढ़ में, उस कार्यक्रम में सबसे बड़ी आयु के व्यक्ति, राजनीति में सबसे सीनियर, वहां पर खड़गे जी मौजूद थे और वो उस पार्टी के अध्यक्ष थे। धूप थी, जो भी सब खड़े थे उन सबको धूप लगना बहुत स्वाभाविक था, लेकिन धूप में वो छतरी का सौभाग्य कांग्रेस के सबसे बड़ी आयु वाले, सबसे सीनियर कांग्रेस के प्रमुख खड़गे जी के नसीब नहीं हुआ। बगल में किसी और के लिए छाता लगा गया था। ये बताता है, कहने को तो खड़गे जी कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष हैं, लेकिन कांग्रेस में जिस तरह उनके साथ बर्ताव होता है वो देखकर पूरी दुनिया देख भी रही है और समझ भी रही है कि रिमोट कंट्रोल किसके हाथ में है। परिवारवाद के इसी संकंजे में आज देश की अनेक पार्टियां जकड़ी हुई हैं। इसी शिकंजे से हमें देश को मुक्त कराना है। इसलिए कांग्रेस जैसे दलों से कर्नाटक के लोगों को भी सतर्क रहना है। और ये कांग्रेस के लोग इतने निराश हो गए हैं, अब तो वो सोचते जब तक मोदी जिंदा है उनकी दाल गलने वाली नहीं है। और इसलिए सारे आजकल कह रहे हैं मर जा मोदी, मर जा मोदी, नारे बोल रहे हैं मर जा मोदी। कुछ लोग कब्र खोदने में बिजी हो गए हैं। वो कह रहे हैं मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी। मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी, लेकिन देश कह रहा है मोदी तेरा कमल खिलेगा, मोदी तेरा कमल खिलेगा। साथियों, जब सच्ची नीयत के साथ काम होता है तब सही विकास होता है। डबल इंजन सरकार की नीयत भी सच्ची है और विकास की निष्ठा भी पक्की है। इसलिए हमें इस विश्वास को बनाए रखना है। कर्नाटका के देश के विकास को गति देने के लिए हमें यूं ही आगे बढ़ना है। सबका प्रयास से ही हम देश को विकसित बनाने के सपने को पूरा कर पाएंगे। और मैं आज यहां कार्यक्रम में थोड़ा देर से पहुंचा। हेलीकॉप्टर से पूरे रास्ते पर बेलगांव ने जो स्वागत किया है, जो आशीर्वाद दिए हैं, माताएं, बहनें, बुजुर्ग, बच्चे, अभूतपूर्व दृश्य था। मैं बेलगावी के कर्नाटका के इस प्यार के लिए सर झुका करके उनको प्रणाम करता हूं, सर झुका करके उनका धन्यवाद करता हूं। आज की मेरी कर्नाटका की यात्रा भी विशेष है, क्योंकि आज सुबह मैं शिवमोगा में था और वहां पर एयरपोर्ट कर्नाटका की जनता को सुपुर्द करने का मुझे सौभाग्य मिला। लेकिन साथ साथ हमारे वरिष्ठ नेता येदियुरप्पा जी का जन्मदिन की शुभकामनाएं देने का भी मौका मिला। और शिवमोगा से यहां आया तो आप सबने तो कमाल ही कर दिया। ये प्यार, ये आशीर्वाद, मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूं, बेलगावी के मेरे प्यारे भाइयों बहनों, कर्नाटका के मेरे प्यारे भाइयों बहनों, मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूं, ये आप जो मुझे प्यार दे रहे हैं ना, आप जो हम सबको आशीर्वाद दे रहे हैं ना, मैं इसे ब्याज समेत लौटाऊंगा। और कर्नाटका का विकास करके लौटाऊंगा, बेलगावी का विकास करके लौटाऊंगा। फिर एक बार आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मेरे साथ बोलिए भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
कोई ऐसा इलाका देश का छूट
I think there's an opportunity for India particularly to work with the United States and others.
India is has the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world.
I thought if it's blowing in the wind, it's best I'm on the motorcycle. And I did 15,000 kilometers in 36 days.
Rich countries have a particular obligation to exercise their investment in innovation.
I believe that global business has the money and the power.
Improvements in the way we understand the importance of education and healthcare.
You have a greater chance of killing yourself than of being killed by any soldier or terrorist or criminal.
Risk when you want to, pick up the pace if you like, slow down if you wish to. Well, as you can see, I'm doing a very simple form of exercise. It is walking, and there are many hidden benefits of walking. I'm here to tell you about all the hidden benefits of walking today. Does the sight of this overwhelm you? Are you always running out of time and can't make time to go to a gym? Do you feel worried about not getting any physical activity? Then don't, because walking even for a few minutes a day can go a long way in doing wonders for your health.
It affects our heart, it affects our liver, it affects our blood pressure, it affects our muscles, it affects our bone, it affects our brain, it affects our coordination, it affects our psyche. Walking releases endorphins, which are mood elevators. So really speaking, if you are walking every day, you are really living, otherwise you're not living at all.
The benefits of walking are many, and it goes beyond getting in some physical activity in. To start with, this is a great way to boost your mental health.
If you're looking to benefit from the
All right, here's the latest news break coming in. CBI has got 5-day custody of Manish Sisodia. Manish Sisodia will be going back to the CBI headquarters. His lawyers had pleaded very clearly that there was no destruction of evidence and Manish Sisodia would not be a threat to the case even though he is outside. The sheer fact that he said no comments doesn't quite mean not cooperating with the CBI. But the CBI court at Rouse Avenue has now given the CBI 5-day custody of Manish Sisodia, which means that till March 4th, Manish Sisodia would be in CBI custody, which means that from the Rouse Avenue court, he'd be taken directly to the CBI headquarters at the CGO complex. All of this while protests have broken out across the country, with the Aam Aadmi Party observing what they call a dark day in democracy. Multiple press conferences that we've seen through the course of the day. The Aam Aadmi Party attacking the BJP, saying that the BJP is using agencies to get back at the Aam Aadmi Party. It's a political witch hunt. It's political vendetta. All of that right now has come to, in terms of pure legal proceedings, what has gone down at the Rouse Avenue court. It's a 5-day police custody, which is CBI custody as well. Connecting immediately to my colleague Nalini, who's joining us from the Rouse Avenue court. Nalini, would you take us through the order which was reserved and now a 5-day police custody, which is CBI custody given where Manish Sisodia is concerned? He'll be taken back to the CBI headquarters.
Yes, Preeti, that's precisely what the CBI was asking for. 5 days of custody to be granted so that they can grill him while he's in their custody, hold custodial interrogation and hopefully get to further bottom of things of exactly what went down during the drafting and the implementation of this excise policy. So the court has agreed with the CBI that there is enough grounds made, at least on the face of it, to grant 5 days police custody to the CBI. The CBI will now have 5 days of Manish Sisodia in their custody to interrogate him, to find out exactly whether or not he was at the helm of affairs to actually introduce these changes in the excise policy as were done according to the documents that are submitted before the court. At the same time, the court, at the end of these 5 days of custody, Manish Sisodia will once again be produced before the special CBI court at Rouse Avenue, and then we have to wait and watch out for as to whether or not CBI will be asking for additional further custody or whether they'll be okay with him going to judicial custody. Remember, at the same time, another aspect that is pending is that Manish Sisodia has sought interim bail on the grounds that his wife is not keeping well, that she is having health issues, and for that medical bail should be granted to him. But for now, no bail has been granted, but it might be a point that will be taken up once again 5 days later on the 4th of March when Manish Sisodia is once again produced before the court. But for now, it's a setback coming in for him. 5 5 days he will have to spend in CBI custody, and this is just the beginning of the time that Manish Sisodia will have to spend in the custody till the time he is let out on bail. The CBI has got what it was asking for. There's a maximum time of 14 days for which they can keep him in custody. So hopefully if they are able to extract something valuable during the course of these 5 days, then they will have to bring forth with that evidence before the court at the end of the 5 days and tell the court exactly why they're asking for further custody. But for now, it's a small but significant win for the CBI. They will have an opportunity to interrogate the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister while he is in their custody for the next 5 days in the Delhi excise policy scam and figure out as to exactly what were the kickbacks that were received by him personally as well as Aam Aadmi Party during the drafting and the implementation of this entire excise policy.
Nalini, would you stay with me? We're going to also maybe, get us details of what the order says. I want to pull in Manish Pandey, my colleague who's joining us outside the CBI headquarters for most. Manish, on expected lines, one was expecting that the CBI will get custody of Manish Sisodia. That's exactly what has happened. All right, just stay with me. Would you stay with me, Munish? Nalini's got somebody on board with her. They're cutting back to the Rouse Avenue court.
Demand is not made out.
Right. So what about the interim bail? Do you
the lawyer of Manish Sisodia
in the coming few days?
अभी तो रिमांड है, रिमांड के बाद ही ये डिसाइड होएगा.
So that, Preeti, right you have in your, that's Advocate Mohit Mathur, who was representing Manish Sisodia before the court of law, and essentially what he is saying is that he's had a long day. He's of course not giving any further comments as of now. But in your frame, you can see Mohit Mathur, who's just left the court after the hearing has been completed. We're going to go back to the courtroom and see if there are any more lawyers coming out. But what Mohit Mathur has said is that 5 days custody has been granted for now. But they're of course not viewing this as a setback because this is the legal process. This is how things are expected to pan out, and we'll see what happens in the next coming few days.
All right, Nalini, stay with us. You just saw Manish Mathur there, one of the lawyers, where a battery of lawyers that Manish Sisodia's team has, not just Manish Mathur. Dayan Krishnan is also one of the noted lawyers in Delhi, is representing Manish Sisodia. But let's cut across right now. Once, we're going to go back to Nalini. But Manish Pandey joins us right outside the CBI headquarters. Anytime, Manish, I would reckon the CBI team would be bringing Manish Sisodia back to the CBI headquarters. He's going to be lodged right where you're standing, behind you, for the next 5 days at least.
Well, Preeti, for next 5 days, this will be the place where Manish Sisodia will be lodged. Now, as far as the court order is concerned, what it essentially means that CBI was able to convince the court that the grounds on the basis of which Mr. Manish Sisodia was arrested and on the basis of which they were asking for his custody, that grounds were accepted by the court. And the major arguments was the destruction of evidence, the changes in the excise policy, and also how influential Mr. Manish Sisodia is. And yesterday, Preeti, when we were talking, in our conversation also, it was very much expected, as you were discussing yesterday, that CBI will be able to get custody. Not only because this is a premier agency of the country, but also because the CBI sources were telling India Today that they have a very strong ground for arresting Mr. Manish Sisodia. Now, as far as the remand copy is concerned, some interesting points were made out by the Central Bureau of Investigation. Not only the ground that why this excise policy was tweaked, the main intention, what the CBI wanted to portray before the court was that the profit margin was raised from 5% to 12%, and it was done only to benefit the businessmen who were in liquor business. Apart from that, one more important which the CBI pointed out before the court was that Mr. Manish Sisodia's custodial interrogation is important because they need to recover certain evidence in the case, especially about a phone which he was using around January 2020. So these were the arguments made by the
Manish, continue. Live visuals coming in of Manish Sisodia. People trying to get him to react. He's just got a smile on his face. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'm going to come right back to you, Manish. But visuals just filtering in. You can see Manish Sisodia there, the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, being led out of the Rouse Avenue court, the CBI court there. He's got a smile on his face. He's wearing the same shirt that he was wearing yesterday. And he's going to be now lodged at the CBI. CBI headquarters for the next 5 days. I want to ask you, Manish, we're going to get into the order copy and the details of it. But in terms of pure protocol, is Manish allowed access to his lawyers while he is in CBI custody? What all is he allowed? What is he not allowed? Can you take us through that?
Yeah, well, for that, Preeti, one has to see the entire order by the court, whether these things have been allowed or not. But generally, the lawyers are allowed to meet their client. That is, in this case, that is Mr. Manish Sisodia. They are allowed to meet their client, and once they can come to the CBI headquarters, sometimes it is twice a day, they can come and meet Mr. Manish Sisodia. Also, Mr. Manish Sisodia will be allowed to have food which is homemade, and also if there is a request made by Mr. Manish Sisodia's family that he wants to meet someone, then also that things will be allowed. So these are the general protocol which we have seen in most of the cases, but in this case we have to wait and watch that whether such requests were made by Manish Sisodia's lawyers or not. As far as the CBI is concerned, for the next 5 days it is going to be very crucial, because remember, they may have got 5 days, but also once his custody is over, again they will be asking for extension of custody. But in these 5 days, what they have done, that will be monitored by the lawyers of Manish Sisodia. For example, in 5 days, if he is being asked the proper question, if he is being well treated, also how the CBI is going to use these 5 days. For example, if from morning to evening he is only being questioned for 2 hours and 3 hours, these are the grounds on the basis of which the lawyers of Manish Sisodia will be asking that there should not be any further custody, because CBI is only doing time pass, nothing else. So CBI knows these tactics which might be used by Manish Sisodia's lawyer, and that's why for the next 5 days, these are going to be very crucial for the Central Bureau of Investigation. There is a high possibility that in these 5 days, CBI may confront Manish Sisodia with certain accused or witnesses in the case. They will again confront Manish Sisodia with the certain documentary evidences in the case, and also there will be a long questioning, because remember, now he is in CBI custody. Till an hour ago, he was only in CBI for questioning, but now CBI will have the power to do whatever they want within the law to question Manish Sisodia, and as they have told the court that his custodial interrogation was important to unearth the root of this alleged excise policy.
Yeah, I'm going to come right back. Let's listen into all the reactions filtering in.
वो ऑनरेबल जज ने पूरे का पूरा मान लिया। एक ऐसे व्यक्ति को जिसने कि शिक्षा में क्रांति किया, ऐसे व्यक्ति को जिसने शिक्षा के जरिए देश के लाखों करोड़ों बच्चों के जीवन में आशा किरण जगाई, इस प्रकार की चीज़ें जो हो रही हैं बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है।
सोमनाथ भारती हमारे साथ बातचीत करने के लिए है।
We're going to cut across back to Somnath Bharti. Interesting, is he also a part of the legal team of Manish Sisodia? He seemed to be dressed as a lawyer. He is an advocate, but we're going to get back to that. But Manish, stay with me, but I want to cut across to Nalini. If we still have Nalini. All right, we don't have Nalini. We're going to try and cut across to her. But Manish, I'll come back to you. You were taking us through on how important the next 5 days are for the CBI, where the interrogation of Manish Sisodia is concerned. Today, the special judge, M.K. Nagpal, has given the custody to CBI. But M.K. Nagpal, is known to be not very kind in terms of its orders. We've seen him pass some scathing orders earlier as well.
That is very true, Preeti, and the lawyers of Manish Sisodia tried their best to defend his client, that is the Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister, Manish Sisodia, and the arguments which were presented in counter to CBI's argument by Manish Sisodia's lawyer was that when this policy was being drafted, then Manish Sisodia, as a minister, he wanted public opinion, and that is why it was sent to certain people. Also, it was LG who also had the draft copy of this excise policy. LG had
Manish, interrupting you again. Aam Aadmi Party holding a press conference. Listen into Gopal Rai.
और कोर्ट के सामने ये दलील रखी मनीष सिसोदिया जी को
रिमांड पर दिया जाए। कोर्ट ने और कोर्ट के सामने ये दलील रखी कि मनीष सिसोदिया जी को रिमांड पर दिया जाए। कोर्ट ने बार बार पूछा कि जब पहली बार आपने मनीष सिसोदिया जी को बुलाया वो आ गए, आपने कल बुलाया वो भी आपके पास आए, पूछताछ आपने की, 5 दिन आपको किस लिए चाहिए? सीबीआई के पास कोई जवाब नहीं है, बस चाहिए। आज अभी सीबीआई जबरदस्ती की केवल रिमांड लेने की जिद पर अड़ी रही। कोर्ट ने रिमांड 5 दिन के लिए दी है। जिस तरह से आज तक मनीष सिसोदिया जी के घर पर छापा मारने के बाद सीबीआई को कुछ नहीं मिला, बैंक में छापा मारने के बाद कुछ नहीं मिला, गांव पे जाकर के सारा तहकीकात करने के बाद कुछ नहीं मिला, जिस तरह से पूरे देश भर में सैकड़ों जगह पर छापामारी करने के बाद आज तक कुछ नहीं मिला, कल 8 घंटे की जांच पूछताछ के बाद कुछ नहीं मिला, 5 दिन में भी कुछ मिलने वाला नहीं है। लेकिन सबसे बड़ा प्रश्न आज जो खड़ा हो रहा है, जिन तथ्यों को, जिन बातों के आधार पर सीबीआई कह रही है कि हमने गिरफ्तारी इसलिए की कि मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने पॉलिसी में हेराफेरी करी, लेकिन सीबीआई और पूरी भारतीय जनता पार्टी, केंद्र की मोदी सरकार, जिसका कंट्रोल, जिसके इशारे पर यह सारा खेल हो रहा है, पूरी भाजपा चुप है, पूरी केंद्र सरकार चुप है, पूरी सीबीआई चुप है, पूरी ईडी चुप है कि जिस पॉलिसी में हेराफेरी, जिन तथ्यों के आधार पर हेराफेरी का आरोप लगाया जा रहा है, उस पॉलिसी के निर्माण में अंतिम मोहर दिल्ली के लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर ने लगाई। लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर से पूछताछ क्यों नहीं हो रही? लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर का नाम क्यों नहीं है? इसलिए यह सारा कुछ जो सामने आ रहा है वो इस बात को सबूत दे रहा है, बार बार इस बात की गवाही दे रहा है कि ये घोटाले की जांच नहीं हो रही है, ये राजनीतिक प्रतिद्वंदिता के तहत, गंदी राजनीति के तहत ये सारा खेल हो रहा है, और जिसका शिकार मनीष सिसोदिया जी को बनाया जा रहा है। क्योंकि अगर एक्साइज पॉलिसी की जांच हो रही होती तो एलजी की भी जांच होती, एलजी को भी बुलाया जाता, एलजी का भी नाम होता, क्योंकि बिना एलजी के परमिशन के, बिना एलजी के मोहर के तो पॉलिसी नहीं फाइनल हुई। अगर भ्रष्टाचार की जांच हो रही होती, केंद्र सरकार की मंशा होती, तो अडानी के घोटाले के भी अब तक कम से कम एक नोटिस तो जरूर निकली होती, जांच जरूर होती। पूरा देश इस बात को आज सोच रहा है कि आज अगर अडानी देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के दोस्त नहीं होते तो जांच अडानी की भी आज हो रही होती, सीबीआई भी चल रही होती, ईडी भी चल रही होती, सारी एजेंसियां भी अडानी के खिलाफ चल रही होती। मनीष सिसोदिया की सिर्फ एक कमजोरी है कि वो अरविंद केजरीवाल के दोस्त हैं और नरेंद्र मोदी की राजनीति के खिलाफ हैं। अडानी की एक खासियत है कि वो नरेंद्र मोदी के दोस्त हैं और उनकी सारी जो लूट की राजनीति है उसके सहभागी हैं। इस आधार पर देश में कानून, इस आधार पर देश में लोकतंत्र नहीं चल सकता है। हम चाहते हैं कि जांच हो, लेकिन मनीष सिसोदिया की भी जांच हो रही है तो अडानी की भी जांच हो, दिल्ली के लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर की भी जांच हो। अगर निष्पक्ष जांच करानी है, कई भाजपा के लोग पूछ रहे हैं जांच से क्यों घबरा रहे हो, जांच से क्यों घबरा रहे हो, जांच से क्यों घबरा रहे हो? जांच से तो इस देश का प्रधानमंत्री घबरा रहा है। जब पार्लियामेंट के अंदर सारे सवालों के आने के बाद ज्वाइंट पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटी से जांच कराने की मांग आई, प्रधानमंत्री ने लोकसभा के अंदर भी बोला, राज्यसभा के अंदर बोला, जुबान से एक भी लाइन, एक भी लफ्ज नहीं निकला कि नहीं, अगर कोई गलती हुई है तो हम जांच कराएंगे। जांच से आप डर रहे हो, जांच से हम नहीं डर रहे। पहले भी सीबीआई ने बुलाया, मनीष सिसोदिया ने जाकर के सवाल का जवाब दिया। कल भी सीबीआई ने बुलाया, 8 घंटे तक पूछताछ की। आगे भी हम कोऑपरेशन करने के लिए तैयार हैं, लेकिन जिस तरह से गिरफ्तारी करके आप दहशत अगर फैलाना चाहते हो, हम दहशत के लिए जवाब देने के लिए तैयार हैं, क्योंकि इस देश के अंदर लोकतंत्र है, संविधान है। जिस तरह से इसको कुंडली मार कब्जा करके इस देश के लोकतंत्र को, इस देश के संविधान को, एजेंसियों को अपने मुट्ठी में लेकर के जिस तरह से आप दुरुपयोग कर रहे हैं, आम आदमी पार्टी इसके खिलाफ आवाज उठाएगी। आज पूरे देश के अंदर आम आदमी पार्टी ने प्रदर्शन किया, हमने आवाज उठाई है, आगे भी ये आंदोलन जारी रहेगा। जल्द ही हम आम आदमी पार्टी आगे की आंदोलन की रणनीति आपके सामने जो है वो घोषित करेगी और इस आवाज को हम उठाते रहेंगे।
आज जो आप लोग प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे थे उस अभी के बंद कर रहे हैं, खत्म कर रहे हैं?
अभी जो प्रोटेस्ट हम लोग कर रहे थे अभी हम खत्म कर रहे हैं। आगे के आंदोलन की रूपरेखा जल्दी आपको हम घोषित करेंगे। थैंक यू।
Gopal Rai, one of the cabinet ministers in the Delhi government, addressing the press conference after Manish Sisodia was given 5-day CBI custody, saying that the protest for the day of the Aam Aadmi Party, staging a protest, walking to the BJP headquarters has ended. However, the agitation will continue. Their protest will continue, and the roadmap of that will be given out in due course of time. All of that taking place, viewers, as Manish Sisodia is now going to be escorted back to the CBI headquarters. He's going to be there over the next 5 days. He's going to be questioned by the CBI. In all probability, he will get access to his lawyers, home food. What does the order copy say? I want to cut across right now to our ace reporters. Nalini is joining me. So is Shrishti Ojha. Shrishti Ojha was there while the proceedings took place. Nalini is also with me. Nalini, would you take us through on what really went down? What does the order say? Will Manish Sisodia get access to home food? Is there any fine print that you've gone through?
Well, Preeti, we are still waiting for the detailed order copy to be released by the court. So unless and until the detailed order copy is out, we won't be speculating on exactly what sort of benefits, even if a few have been given to Manish Sisodia. But one thing is certain, he might his legal team, if not at any time of his choosing, but during certain hours of the day, that might be something that the CBI court has gone ahead and allowed him to do so. But at the same time, the biggest takeaway from the order is that for the next 5 days, Manish Sisodia will be spending inside CBI custody, where the CBI will be able to question him and interrogate him related to the finer aspects of the Delhi excise policy scam, more specifically related to the drafting and the implementation of the scam, of how exactly there were changes that were brought about to the final version of that excise policy that were not present in the first draft that was put forth before the court. At the same time, another aspect that Manish Sisodia's defense team has very strongly delved into is the fact that he needs to be released on interim bail because his wife is facing some sort of medical issues and her health is not doing well, because of which Manish Sisodia should be released on interim bail. His legal team is not seeing this as a setback. We just spoken to Advocate Mohit Mathur, who left the court premises just a few minutes back after the order was pronounced, and he is saying that this is a part of a process. A 5-day custody has been granted right now, but that doesn't mean that Manish Sisodia has lost the case. This is a long battle ahead of him, and this is just another bump in the road, and this is something that he will eventually overcome. What they're also saying is that just because Manish Sisodia has not been giving the answers that CBI wants him to give does not mean he's not being cooperative. But these next 5 days, Preeti, are going to be the defining moment for the CBI in this case, because only when they are able to extract something substantial during the course of interrogation in these next 5 days can they even expect for any further remand to be granted to them, because that is the first question that the court is going to ask them on the 4th of March when Manish Sisodia is produced before the CBI court once again. What is it that you found out in these past 5 days when he's been in your custody, when he's been under your supervision, when you've had absolutely uninterrupted time to question him as much as you want. What is it that you have come to and what are the conclusions that you have come to? So they will have to come forth with some strong evidence against Manish Sisodia if they hope to hold him in custody for longer. Remember, it's a maximum of 14 days of police custody that can be granted to any police agency, including the CBI, from the court. So they are going to try and ensure that they maximize as much as they can of these 14 days. They don't want to spend too much time bringing him to court again and again. So they will try and seek longer custody. But at the same time, these 5 days are going to be the defining factor for the CBI, at least when it comes to Manish Sisodia's role in this case. There are several others that have been arrested.
Nalini, I want to pull you in because you say that the next 5 days would be defining. But when we look in at what went down in terms of Satyendra Jain, when we see what happened with Vijay Nair, both of them for the Aam Aadmi Party, it's not that they were, as per the CBI, cooperating during the police custody while they were with the CBI. And therefore, after 14 days, they were moved, of course, to judicial custody and then they were moved to Tihar. So, do you see a similar trajectory following here as well?
Yeah. Well, Preeti, if we talk about Satyendra Jain, then that's a different case altogether because Satyendra Jain is right now facing charges under the PMLA Act, which is the Prevention of Money Laundering, and he has been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate, not the CBI in this case. But yes, similarities can be drawn with the Vijay Nair case because Vijay Nair's case also went through a similar trajectory where he was first arrested by the CBI and then subsequently by the Enforcement Directorate. But even in the CBI case, Vijay Nair has managed to secure himself bail. The only reason he's still behind bars is because he's not got the bail in the PMLA case, and that really is the crux of this whole story, Preeti. Because
Nalini, do you see the ED stepping in as well? Because there is Manish's name that finds mention in the ED charge sheet.
Undoubtedly, yeah. Absolutely, undoubtedly, Preeti. There is no doubt about the fact that the ED is going to swoop in. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Right now, Manish Sisodia is in CBI custody, so they are likely to give a little bit of leeway to CBI to interrogate and find out the finer aspects of the case. But the ED has already jumped into the investigation of this case. They've already registered an FIR on the basis of the original FIR filed by the CBI under the Prevention of Corruption Act, which is a scheduled offence for the ED to lodge an investigation. So the ED's already stepped in. They have also gone ahead and interrogated several people in this matter. So there is no doubt about the fact that the ED might move in to go ahead and arrest Manish Sisodia sooner rather than later. And the reason why that's going to be crucial is because the entire story is going to turn once ED comes into the picture. Because for Manish Sisodia to get bail in an ED case is going to be an uphill battle for him, because the burden of proof will then lie on Manish Sisodia to prove that he is innocent in this case, as against the CBI case where the burden of proof is on the CBI to prove that there is a strong case against Manish Sisodia.
Nalini, I'm going to interrupt you, and the reason I'm coming in, I apologize, is let's cut across to the press conference of Gaurav Bhatia from the Bharatiya Janata Party.
एजेंसी है वो ईमानदारी से भ्रष्टाचारियों को कानून के तहत कार्रवाई करती हैं। दूसरी तरफ, और जैसे कल से हम देख रहे हैं कि एक तरफ कानून अपना काम कर रहा है, जो जांच एजेंसी हैं वो ईमानदारी से भ्रष्टाचारियों को कानून के तहत कार्रवाई करती हैं, दूसरी तरफ कट्टर बेईमान और अराजक अपराध पार्टी ना संविधान का सम्मान करती है, ना न्यायालय का सम्मान करती है, ना जनता का सम्मान करती है और ना कानून का सम्मान करती। जो फैसला अभी अभी न्यायालय ने पारित किया है, उसमें एक्यूज्ड नंबर 1 आबकारी घोटाला, शराब घोटाला को सीबीआई कस्टडी में 4 मार्च तक के लिए दिया गया है। यह आदेश मौखिक तौर पे तो कोर्ट में सुनाया गया है, जैसा चैनल्स बता रहे हैं। पूरा आदेश आएगा तो इसका अध्ययन भी किया जाएगा और विधिक तौर पे जो मेरी समझ है, मैं समझता हूं ये बड़ा ही अहम फैसला है। सबसे पहले तो जो ओछी घटिया अराजकतापूर्ण राजनीति कल से कट्टर बेईमान लोग अरविंद केजरीवाल के इशारे पर जो कर रहे हैं, उसको उजागर करना बहुत जरूरी है। देखिए, सबसे पहले तो हर कोई ये बात जानता है, उप मुख्यमंत्री कई विभाग के मंत्री हैं। ये जो घोटाला इन्होंने किया है, ये घोटाला आबकारी नीति को लेके है, शराब नीति को लेकर है, शराब नीति। और किस तरह की नौटंकी की जा रही है कल से, ऐसा लगता है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल ने कसम संविधान के ऊपर हाथ रख के ये ली कि संविधान को तार तार करूंगा। सबसे पहले तो मैं ये कहूंगा, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, पापी आपको भी पता है कि एक्यूज नंबर 1 कट्टर बेईमान है, और आज ये आदेश आने के बाद ये बात सिद्ध हो गई है कि न्यायालय ने भी पाया है सीबीआई एक्यूज नंबर 1 मनीष सिसोदिया को शराब नीति घोटाले में अपनी कस्टडी में ले, जिससे कि पूर्ण रूप से विवेचना हो सके, दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी हो जाए, या ये कहें दूध का दूध और शराब की शराब हो जाए। जो मुख्य बिंदु मैं आपके समक्ष उठाऊंगा, इस पे ध्यान दीजिएगा। और यह भी हमें पता है कि जनता की आवाज बन के भारतीय जनता पार्टी जब बड़े प्रखरता से यह मुद्दा उठाती है, किसी भी सवाल का उत्तर नहीं देंगे अरविंद केजरीवाल, लेकिन फिर भी देश की जनता को यह जानने का हक है। यह लड़ाई विचारधाराओं की लड़ाई है। एक तरफ भारतीय जनता पार्टी, करोड़ों नागरिक जो संविधान, न्यायालय, कानून में अपनी आस्था रखते हैं, दूसरी तरफ वो भ्रष्टाचारी नेता जो केवल कानून तोड़ना जानते हैं, चाहे वो शराब घोटाले में ऐसी नीति लाना कि अरविंद केजरीवाल की तिजोरी जनता के रुपए से भरे, चाहे वो कानून को तब तोड़ना कि एक आरोपी जिसको जो जांच एजेंसी है, मैं आपसे साझा करना चाहूंगा, उसका दायित्व है कि 24 घंटे के अंदर न्यायालय में किसी भी व्यक्ति को जब गिरफ्तार किया जाता है तो न्यायालय में पेश करना होगा। यह हमारे देश का कानून है। पहले तो ढोंग और नौटंकी करी जाती है। आप जाते हैं राजघाट, हम सबके आदर्श महात्मा गांधी जी, और वहां जा कौन रहा है? एक उप मुख्यमंत्री जो एक्यूज नंबर 1 है, जो एक बड़ा शराब का घोटाला करता है। इसके बाद कुछ लोगों को ऐसा प्रतीत होता है संख्या देख के कि
the biggest arrest in Delhi Liquorgate probe. But what tilted the scale against Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal's Hanuman, the number 2 in his cabinet? CBI in a release said that Sisodia was arrested for irregularities in framing and implementing the excise policy, adding that Sisodia was evasive in answering when confronted with documentary and digital proofs. CBI sources say that Sisodia gave a standard "I don't know" to most of the questions.
Sources say when Manish Sisodia was confronted with the statement given by that bureaucrat, Manish Sisodia failed to answer most of the questions pertaining to the implementation, changes in the draft policy, and most importantly, the profit margin, which was increased to 12%, based on which the CBI decided to arrest the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi.
The confession by a top Delhi government official who served in the excise department proved clincher for CBI in arresting Sisodia. The Babu, while being questioned by CBI, termed Sisodia as the mastermind of the new liquor policy, saying that the Deputy CM had personally made changes to the controversial liquor policy. While many of the phones used to strike Liquorgate deals were allegedly destroyed, forensic tests showed that proposals were sent to the bureaucrat's mobile using WhatsApp.
सीबीआई सूत्रों का यह कहना है कि उस अधिकारी ने अपने बयान में कहा हुआ था कि जब मनीष सिसोदिया आबकारी मंत्री थे, उस वक्त उन्होंने ही निर्देश दिया हुआ था शराब नीति में बदलाव करने का, और उनके ही निर्देश पर जो मुनाफा था उसे बढ़ाकर 12% कर दिया गया था, जिसका सीधा फायदा शराब व्यापारियों को हो रहा था.
Probe officials also point to the fact that suspiciously reports of an expert committee was completely changed by forming a group of ministers and concealing an earlier note. Lastly, the profit margin for liquor sellers was just 5% in the original policy. But under the new policy, it went up to 12% at the behest of the Southern liquor lobby. With Manish Pandey in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Co-powered by Hyundai Ioniq 5, the all-electric SUV. Co-powered by घर लेना हो या बेचना, 99 acres से ही पूछना. Co-powered by Aditya Birla Capital.
Holding hands, felicitating, shaking hands. The double-engine BJP is counting on. BSY Modi Bonhomie becomes talk of the town. Prime Minister Modi's special birthday wish for B.S. Yedurappa.
अगर आपके पास मोबाइल फोन है तो मोबाइल फोन निकाल करके उसकी फ्लैश लाइट शुरू करिए और येडियुरप्पा जी का सम्मान कीजिए.
Modi BSY Bonhomie. Top focus on 6 p.m. Prime.
Good evening. You're watching 6 p.m. Prime here on India Today. I'm Akshita Nandagopal. Lots that's played out today in Karnataka. From that show of strength by Prime Minister Modi and B.S. Yedurappa in Shivamoga to a mega roadshow in Belagavi. Lots that's happened for the BJP's campaign, but a lot of takeaways also from the messaging of Prime Minister Modi seen there constantly reaching out to B.S. Yedurappa. We're going to be talking about that and decoding what that Bonhomie is all about. The headlines first. No relief for Manish Sisodia day after arrest in Delhi liquor scam. CBI gets 5-day custody of Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister. arrest as AAP workers clash with Delhi police. Several detained. AAP says party born from an Andolan will not back down. After Maulana Azad and Kamaraj are missing from Congress poster, BJP mocks as Congress has found Tippu. Big disquiet in Congress over snub to Muslim icon. Congress calls it a slip-up and promises probe. Day after prime witness Umesh Pale in BSP MLA murder case is shot dead, accused in killing, gunned down by UP cops in Prayagraj encounter. High-pitched Northeast battle for 59 seats in Meghalaya and Nagaland. Mega three-cornered contest. TMC Congress aim for sizable vote share. And Saurav Ganguly says it could take Rishabh Pant 2 years to return to the team. The wicketkeeper batsman is still in recovery after the horrific car crash that he was in December 2022. From a massive rally to an inauguration spree to a mega roadshow, Prime Minister Modi has gone all out in his campaign in pole-bound Karnataka today. Let's first begin by getting you all of those updates. Prime Minister Modi received a grand welcome in Shivamogga and in Belagavi, where he inaugurated a brand new airport on B.S. Yediyurappa's birthday. Prime Minister Modi was seen walking hand in hand with Yeddi before inaugurating the airport. This amid all the speculation of the former Karnataka Chief Minister being sidelined by the party top brass. Prime Minister Modi's one-day tour of pole-bound Karnataka saw a series of other projects being launched as well in Shivamogga. Besides the lotus-shaped airport named after Kuvempu, several other development projects were also inaugurated. In Belagavi, Prime Minister Modi led a 9-kilometre-long roadshow flagged by a sea of supporters. Petals were showered upon the Prime Minister's motorcade as it passed through the stretch slowly. Prime Minister's visit instilled strength and enthusiasm among BJP workers as it's a key component of the Saffron Party's outreach. These are images from the Belagavi rally where the Prime Minister was seen pouring grains from a sieve. So there's been endless talk just weeks ago about how Lingayat strongman veteran BJP leader B.S. Yediyurappa is being sidelined constantly by the BJP. He wasn't invited for several top leadership events in Karnataka. Juxtapose that to those pictures that we're seeing right now of how Prime Minister Modi made it a point at every single point in Shivamogga to felicitate, to greet, to personally take B.S. Yediyurappa along with him. So what's really changed for the BJP? Has the realization dawned upon them that they need BSY in this election campaign? We're going to be discussing that. A report first of what played out in Shivamogga today.
Ella Sahodara, Sahodariyarige, Nanna Namaskar.
This is the double engine that the BJP is relying on this election. Narendra Modi and B.S. Yediyurappa. Every second of the Prime Minister's Shivamogga visit was spent sending out one resounding message that B.S. Yediyurappa was, is and will be the Karnataka king for the BJP. From holding his hand and pulling him forward, to felicitating him, to getting up before and after his speech to greet him, Prime Minister Modi ensured the spotlight was firmly on Yediyurappa. And with this, it's 100% clear the BJP is completely reliant on the Lingayat strongman this election.
The historic occasion is here.
Prime Minister Modi touched down in Yediyurappa's stronghold Shivamogga on a special occasion to inaugurate Yediyurappa's dream project on his birthday.
The entire population of Malnad will be benefited by this airport.
The Shivamoga airport, shaped like a lotus and a project that Yediyurappa personally supervised, was inaugurated by the Prime Minister. The airport was even meant to be named after BSY, but he refused and instead suggested the airport be named after legendary Kannada poet Kuvempu.
शिवमोगा एयरपोर्ट बहुत ही भव्य बना है, बहुत ही सुंदर है और ये सिर्फ एयरपोर्ट नहीं है, ये इस क्षेत्र के जवानों के सपनों को नई उड़ान का अभियान है.
The inauguration took place also interestingly on Yediyurappa's 80th birthday, and Prime Minister Modi had a special wish for the former Chief Minister.
आज कर्नाटका के लोकप्रिय जननेता बीएस येदियुरप्पा जी का जन्मदिन है. साथियों, मेरी आप सबसे एक विनती है, आप करेंगे? अगर आपके पास मोबाइल फोन है तो मोबाइल फोन निकाल करके उसकी फ्लैश लाइट शुरू करिए और येदियुरप्पा जी का सम्मान कीजिए. येदियुरप्पा जी के सम्मान में सब लोग हर एक के मोबाइल पर फ्लैश लाइट चलना चाहिए, येदियुरप्पा जी के सम्मान में चलना चाहिए.
An emotional BSY also thanked the Prime Minister for coming down to Shivamoga on his birthday.
My 80th birthday is also memorable because of you. Your precious time was allocated to inaugurate historical projects which Shivamoga district never witnessed since independence.
But what do all these photo ops mean? Is the BJP merely reassuring their tallest Karnataka leader that he's still their number one? Or has a realization dawned that Bommai alone cannot win this election for them?
It seems to be all is not well within Karnataka BJP. As Home Minister Amit Shah to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, everybody is seeking votes in the name of B.S. Yediyurappa, the strong Lingayat veteran. And what we also get to learn from B.S. Yediyurappa is that the next Chief Minister will be decided by the High Command. And he has also clarified that Basavaraj Bommai will not be the CM face. With the original Shivamurthy Sagairaj reporting for India Today, Shivamoga.
So those were the highlights of what played out earlier today in Shivamoga. Soon after that, Prime Minister Modi was also in Belagavi, where he took part in a massive roadshow, after which again at the rally he made it a point to hail B.S. Yediyurappa and his contributions.
कर्नाटका की बीजेपी सरकार हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में इसके लिए किसानों को मदद भी देती है. मुझे याद है कि रैता बंधु येदियुरप्पा जी ने श्री अन्न को प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए यहां कितना बड़ा अभियान चलाया था. अब हमें इस श्री अन्न को पूरी दुनिया में पहुंचाना है. कांग्रेस किस तरह कर्नाटका से नफरत करती है. कहने को तो खड़गे जी कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष हैं, लेकिन कांग्रेस में जिस तरह उनके साथ बर्ताव होता है वो देखकर पूरी दुनिया देख भी रही है और समझ भी रही है कि रिमोट कंट्रोल किसके हाथ में है. कांग्रेस के लोग इतने निराश हो गए हैं, अब तो वो सोचते हैं जब तक मोदी जिंदा है उनकी दाल गलने वाली नहीं है. और इसलिए सारे आजकल कह रहे हैं मर जा मोदी, मर जा मोदी, नारे बोल रहे हैं मर जा मोदी. कुछ लोग कब्र खोदने में बिजी हो गए हैं. वो कह रहे हैं मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी. मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी. लेकिन देश कह रहा है मोदी तेरा कमल खिलेगा, मोदी तेरा कमल खिलेगा। हिंदुस्तान के हर किसानों को आज कर्नाटका से जोड़ा है, बेलगावी से जोड़ा है। आज यहां से पीएम किसान सम्मान निधि की एक और किस्त भेजी गई है। सिर्फ एक ही बटन दबाकर, एक ही क्लिक पर देश के करोड़ों किसानों के बैंक खाते में 16,000 करोड़ रुपए पहुंचे हैं।
Now, the Karnataka Congress, referring to the Prime Minister and BSY Bonhomie, has questioned, what about Bommai? They've tweeted, and I quote, then it was BSY, now it's Bommai. These are the names used by BJP as tissue papers. Their state chief minister was right next to him, but the Prime Minister didn't call his name even once. This is the comment that's been made by the Karnataka Congress, and obviously it's led to a political showdown now, as the opposition hasn't missed out on the cues that have been dropped really from this massive rally, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi put all of his energy, all of his focus on B.S. Yediyurappa. Nagarjun Dwarkanath is joining us live. We also have Sagai Raj getting us the latest updates. Nagarjun, to you first. You know, are these winds of change within the Karnataka BJP? Is this signalling a clear messaging to Baswaraj Bommai that he's no longer the boss?
Well, that's true, Akshita. In fact, if we have known the politics of Karnataka for a long time, that's good enough to join the dots. Things are not okay between the High Command and the present dispensation is what one can pick up. Congress also is pointing at the same thing, that not even once the Chief Minister name was uttered from the Prime Minister's mouth today in both Belgaum as well as Shimoga. It is very unlikely that the Prime Minister doesn't acknowledge the sitting CM when the party would go for elections in next 50 days to 60 days. We have not seen him acknowledge either Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh. Wherever BJP government is always addressed the Chief Minister by its name and said, the Chief Minister Sarkar is doing a good job. But here today what has happened is, in Shimoga and Belgavi, he was addressing the gathering as BJP government has done this, the double engine government has done development. Not once has he uttered Mr. Bommai's name is what Congress is saying. And also, Congress is slamming BJP that now that it's time for election, they have realized they have to go back to Yediyurappa because he's a Lingayat strong man, and still they have to consolidate the Lingayat vote bank, and they know they are on a weak wicket. Hence, they are unsure about who the next Chief Minister will be, which is a plus for the Congress, is what the Congress is saying. But as of now, what we can say is definitely things are not okay between the present dispensation and the High Command. Clearly, signs have been given. Earlier, it was Amit Shah, and now the Prime Minister forgetting the Chief Minister's name.
All right, let's see how this plays out for Baswaraj Bommai. Nagarjun, stay on with me. Why is it that we're saying that it looks like Baswaraj Bommai has been completely sidelined, that the High Command is no longer in favour of him? A number of hints that have been dropped in the last few days alone. First is, of course, what's happened today in Shivamoga. The fact that the Prime Minister made no mention of Baswaraj Bommai's achievements. He said Karnataka government this and that, double engine Sarkar this and that. Not one mention of Bommai Sarkar. The second hint is the comment that B.S. Yediyurappa has made to us here on India Today. When asked who will be the Chief Minister from the BJP, he said the High Command will choose the CM. At no point did he say Baswaraj Bommai will be it. The third hint is the fact that Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah days ago have been catering to in fact, B.S. Yediyurappa and not to Baswaraj Bommai. So much so that days ago, Amit Shah even forgot Baswaraj Bommai's name in a rally. Let me take this across to Sagai Raj, who's been tracking all the latest updates, particularly at that rally in Shivamoga. Sagai, there was no mention, zero mention of Baswaraj Bommai. He was sitting there on the stage next to the Prime Minister, and despite that, there wasn't any sort of congratulations, any listing of his achievements. But I think the fire started from your interview, Sagai, with B.S. Yediyurappa. You asked him a question, who is the BJP CM face? And he didn't commit. He didn't name Baswaraj Bommai.
Absolutely. As Nagarjun was pointing out that when Prime Minister was addressing the gathering, he went on to say that it is a BJP government, it is a double-engine Sarkar which is trying to lead the Karnataka state. But he never tried to give any kind of appreciation towards Basavaraj Bommai, the Chief Minister of Karnataka. And he was also seen all praising for B.S. Yediyurappa, the kind of handshake that has happened between B.S. Yediyurappa or other leaders and Prime Minister. But nothing as far as have seen on the stage which was been communicated with Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai. And this is not the first time that we have seen. Even Union Home Minister Amit Shah was in Bellary, and when he was seeking vote, he has asked people to vote in the name of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, vote in the name of B.S. Yediyurappa, but he didn't even take the name of sitting Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai. Probably all seems not well within the BJP. Even B.S. Yediyurappa, when he spoke to us, he has categorically said that the High Command will decide the Chief Minister. We asked him whether the Basavaraj Bommai will be the Chief Minister candidate. He said no, the High Command will decide once the election gets over. So he has clearly said that there is no CM phase. So if he had to say that Basavaraj Bommai will be the CM phase, he would have said that yes, under the leadership of Basavaraj Bommai, we are going for election. He will be the CM phase. He will help to get us more seats. But this time they avoided.
Sagai, just stay with me. I want to play out for our viewers excerpts of the conversation that you had with B.S. Yediyurappa. This is an India Today exclusive. The biggest news points, really, the most explosive comments have been made by Yediyurappa, where he's spoken about who will be the next Chief Minister from the BJP, who will be his replacement, his retirement plans.
Now, because of so many developments, there are so many leaders in Karnataka to lead the government. And who should be the leader of the government, that will be decided by the central leadership. I am not going to retire from the politics. I am not tired. And I will go around in the state to build up the party. And I have got 100% confidence that we are going to get absolute majority in Karnataka Assembly. Not only Assembly, for Lok Sabha also you must get absolute majority, so that Prime Minister can again become the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. Who will be the Chief Minister of Karnataka after election? The central leadership is going to take decision. But at the time of that public meeting, Amit Shah ji spoke about me and also Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. Naturally, this leadership will get maximum support from the people of Karnataka. That is the reason he has mentioned Modi ji and my name. And that doesn't mean that he has neglected Basavaraj Bommai. Basavaraj Bommai, myself and Modi ji and all together, we will work hard in the Karnataka and we will come back to power.
I also want to bring in now Shiv Aroor on this broadcast. Shiv, what's happening in your state? Just weeks ago, I remember in your show there was discussion about B.S. Yediyurappa being snubbed, about him not being present at the Prime Minister's event, at Amit Shah's event. And look how the tables have turned now.
You know, the one thing you can't fault the BJP on, Akshita, of course, is, being able to move really fast and do what it takes, given the thought process about the possible potential fallout of sidelining someone as luminous and popular as Yediyurappa is concerned. The BJP has burnt its fingers in a similar way with Yediyurappa in the past, and they definitely don't want it to happen again. Couple that with the fact, that the Bommai government is largely being perceived to be lackluster, involved in, issues that are not really electoral issues, a reputation for Karnataka that has, deteriorated quite dramatically in the last 1 year since Basavaraj Bommai took over as the Chief Minister. And you have the looming figure of Yediyurappa that is increasingly unignorable. Every single thing you see is not a coincidence. The fact that Mr. Bommai's name is left out in a speech, someone gets the Chief Minister's name wrong. Today's body language between the Prime Minister and Yediyurappa was unmistakable. He's praised his speech. He says everyone should listen to the speech. He's held his hand. He garlanded him. He felicitated him. He had people flash their, phone torches for his birthday. This is a Prime Minister, who you don't see showering this kind of adulation and affection on any other individual, and he did that for Yediyurappa, and I think that speaks to a huge extent to what the BJP sees as Yediyurappa's role in the upcoming election and the impact he could have in case he is sidelined and upset. I think those two things going together mean Yediyurappa is definitely the BJP's Neta number one in Karnataka.
You know, it's not every day, you're right, it's not every day that you see the Prime Minister going all out, walking hand in hand with a leader and taking these kind of steps to kind of assuage and reassure a leader like B.S. Yediyurappa. Sagaraj, is there one particular point that's led to now the BJP realizing that, look, we need B.S. Yediyurappa? Has something happened in the last few weeks that's triggered this churn?
See, the two things. One is the corruption charges against Bommai government, and two, the top Lingayat leader from Karnataka. Definitely, snubbing Basavaraj Bommai will not have any kind of damage on the party or on the vote bank. But they cannot do the same thing with B.S. Yediyurappa. That is the reason he was given a promotion and inducted in the parliamentary board of BJP. And Narendra Modi also understands the kind of clout that B.S. Yediyurappa enjoys in the state of Karnataka. Remember, in 2007, when B.S. Yediyurappa was second time has sworn in as the Chief Minister of Karnataka on the grand stage of Vidhan Sabha, then Gujarat Chief Minister, same Prime Minister Narendra Modi was there on the stage. He has seen the kind of clout B.S. Yediyurappa enjoys in the state of Karnataka. Understanding the vote bank of the state, understanding the clout of B.S. Yediyurappa, also understanding the Basavaraj Bommai's the corruption charges as well as the communal violences which was being reported of late. Definitely, they are going with B.S. Yediyurappa as the face of the election. Probably not the CM candidate, but the face of the election to galvanize the vote.
But it will also lead to questions about whether this is a step being taken out of sheer desperation because they don't have a strong CM face. Are they going back to relying on B.S. Yediyurappa because they realize that things aren't going in their favor? We'll see what happens. Sagaraj, thanks for the moment for joining us with those details. What's very clear as far as the BJP, the Karnataka BJP is concerned, is that they're going now with a double-engine strategy of B.S. Yediyurappa and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I want to recap for you exactly what Yediyurappa said while in fact declaring that he will not be contesting in the upcoming Karnataka elections. He made a rather emotional speech a few days ago at the State Assembly. Let's get you those highlights.
ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ದುಃಖದಿಂದಲ್ಲ, ಸಂತೋಷದಿಂದ, ಖುಷಿಯಿಂದ 75 ವರ್ಷ ದಾಟಿದಂತ ಯಡಿಯೂರಪ್ಪನಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ 2 ವರ್ಷ.
Former Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa is an emotional man. Who can forget him breaking down in tears while resigning as CM? In one of his last speeches in the State Assembly, Yediyurappa got emotional once again. BJP is banking big on BSY ahead of the Karnataka elections. The Prime Minister reportedly spent 15 minutes with him during the party's national executive last month in Delhi. And of course, the photo op today at the Shivamoga airport. And just days before this, the former Karnataka Chief Minister too set the record straight about his position within the party.
ಕೆಲವು ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರೇ. ಬಿಜೆಪಿ ಯಡಿಯೂರಪ್ಪನವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅನ್ಯಾಯ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಅವರನ್ನು ಕಡೆಗಣಿಸಿದೆ ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ಅನೇಕ ಟೀಕೆ ಟಿಪ್ಪಣಿಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜನತಾ ಪಕ್ಷ ಪ್ರಧಾನಿ ನರೇಂದ್ರ ಮೋದಿಯವರು ಎಂದೂ ಸಹ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಕಡೆಗಣಿಸಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಹುಶಃ ಯಡಿಯೂರಪ್ಪನವರಿಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂತಹ ಸ್ಥಾನಮಾನಗಳು, ಗೌರವ ಇದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಬಹುಶಃ ನಾನು ನರೇಂದ್ರ ಮೋದಿಯವರಿಗೆ ಋಣಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಮೆಚ್ಚೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಸ್ಥಾನಮಾನವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂತದ್ದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಮರೆಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ.
Yediyurappa and his electorally important Lingayat vote bank could just prove to be the talisman for the BJP. Lingayats comprise approximately 17% of the total population of Karnataka, accounting for the single largest community in the state. No wonder then that Yediyurappa is confident of a BJP victory in the state.
4 ಬಾರಿ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಯಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ವಚನ ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನನಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದಷ್ಟು ಅವಕಾಶ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಕೆಲವು ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಆಡೋದ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ಯಡಿಯೂರಪ್ಪನ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕುಂಡಿಸ್ಬೋದು ಅನ್ನೋಂಥ ಭ್ರಮೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಇದ್ರೆ ಯಡಿಯೂರಪ್ಪ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೂಡೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಆಡಳಿತ ಪಕ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ಈ ಸದಸ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಪಡ್ತೇನೆ, ಸೂರ್ಯ ಚಂದ್ರರು ಇರೋದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಸತ್ಯನೋ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸತ್ಯ. ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜನತಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟ ಬಹುಮತದೊಂದಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋರಿದ್ದೇವೆ.
Yediyurappa has already declared that he will not be contesting the upcoming assembly polls.
ನಾನಂತೂ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ತಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ನಾನು ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಾನು ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ನರೇಂದ್ರ ಮೋದಿಜಿಯವರು ನಾನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂಥ ಗೌರವ, ಸ್ಥಾನಮಾನಗಳು, ಇದನ್ನು ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಮರೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಬದುಕಿನ ಕೊನೆ ಉಸಿರಿರುವವರೆಗೂ ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯನ್ನು ಕಟ್ಟೋದಕ್ಕೆ, ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯನ್ನು ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ತರಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಮೀರಿ ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಸಂಶಯ ಬೇಡ ಅನ್ನೋ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಅಪರೂಪದ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಮಾತನಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ನಾಳೆ ಅಧಿವೇಶನ ಮುಗಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಾನು ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬರೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಈ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಮಾತನಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಂಥ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಿಗೆ, ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಸದಸ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ವಿದಾಯ ಇದು. ನಾನು ಇನ್ನು ಮತ್ತೆ ಸದನದ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬರೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ.
He may have signaled his retirement, but B.S. Yediyurappa remains an important power center in state of war Karnataka. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's get you breaking news that's coming in. Another big attack at the Congress from Prime Minister Modi in Belagavi, where he's in fact lashed out over a moment that went viral from the plenary session. You see that picture on your screens of Kharge, the Congress president, standing with Sonia Gandhi while there's an umbrella over Sonia's head, none over Kharge. And this is what the Prime Minister's referred to. He said, I respect Mallikarjun Kharge ji a lot. He's a senior member of the Congress, and yet the umbrella was kept only for someone else, and Kharge ji was disrespected. Let's play out for you exactly what the Prime Minister said.
कांग्रेस का एक विशेष परिवार के आगे कर्नाटका के एक और नेता का अपमान किया गया है। साथियों, इसी धरती के संतान, 50 वर्ष जिनका संसदीय कार्यकाल रहा है, ऐसे श्रीमान मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे जी का मैं बहुत सम्मान करता हूं। उन्होंने जनता की सेवा में अपने से जो कुछ भी हुआ करने का प्रयास किया है, लेकिन उस दिन मैं देखकर बहुत दुखी हो गया जब कांग्रेस का अभी अधिवेशन चल रहा था छत्तीसगढ़ में। उस कार्यक्रम में सबसे बड़ी आयु के व्यक्ति, राजनीति में सबसे सीनियर, वहां पर खड़गे जी मौजूद थे और वो उस पार्टी के अध्यक्ष थे। धूप थी, जो भी सब खड़े थे उन सबको धूप लगना बहुत स्वाभाविक था, लेकिन धूप में वो छतरी का सौभाग्य कांग्रेस के सबसे बड़ी आयु वाले, सबसे सीनियर कांग्रेस के प्रमुख खड़गे जी के नसीब नहीं हुआ। बगल में किसी और के लिए छाता लगा गया था।
So we'll track the reaction that comes in from the Congress on that attack by the Prime Minister. On the other side of a short break here on 6 p.m. Prime, we're getting you all the details of the big Delhi dangle. No relief for Manish Sisodia. A day after his arrest, he's been remanded to 5 days of CBI custody. Latest updates coming your way on that big story.
The very fact that you're opening the India Today conclave with a session on Olympic sport tells me that we've made progress.
Southern cinema is known for its flavors, be it over-the-top action sequences, light-hearted comedy, or a complete masala entertainer.
పానం కన్నా విలువైన నీ సోపతి నా సొంతం అన్నా గర్వంతో ఈ మనలో కలిసిపోతేనే
And the fact that it has such a wide reach irrespective of the language barrier explains the craze and power of these regional films. While we have Kannada films, Telugu films and Malayalam movies that have had a dream run lately and continue to do so, let's take a look at the A-listers and their most anticipated Tamil movies of 2023 as the industry is basking in the glory of some of the biggest hits. Jailer. Jailer will be Rajnikant's first film since the release of Annate in 2021. Directed by Nelson Dilip Kumar, the movie has a stellar cast comprising of Jackie Shroff, Shivaraj Kumar, Mohan Lal and Tamanna among others. The movie is scheduled to roll out in cinemas on April 14th. Ponniyin Selvan 2. Filmmaker Mani Ratnam's dream project Ponniyin Selvan Part 1 fetched critical acclaim and was a commercial success. The first part of this magnum opus ended on a cliffhanger, and now all eyes are on the second part, which will hit theatres on April 28th. The second part will pick up from where it ended in PS1 and will have answers to key questions about the Chola dynasty. Based on the novel by Kalki Krishnamurthy, the historical drama features Aishwarya Rai Bachchan, Chian Vikram, Trisha, Jayam Ravi and Karthi in lead roles.
There are some big names in the art world, like the ones from the progressive modern masters like Raza, Souza, Gaitonde, Hussain, etc. Some collect them as assets, some as vanity, some for the snob value, some for the emotional appeal. They appreciate well and fetch returns. Same with select contemporary artworks. Then there is a whole pool of emerging contemporary artists who cannot just be viewed from the lens of valuations. One such artist at the India Art Fair happened to be Vikrant Pisse. His art reiterates his commitment to the revolutionary spirit of Babasaheb Ambedkar. His work focuses on making powerful social commentary. The fabric of revolutionary times exuded. From his work, the call to action to uphold constitutional rights, to a social commentary on casteism with the Dalits in India, to depicting the landmark Rohit Vermila suicide case, the artist is working on a series on the legacy of the Dalit Panther movement in India. His iconography is informed and deliberate in radicality. A force of change to reckon with, Bhise's work stands out at the India Art Fair. In New Delhi, Chaiti Narula for India Today.
Welcome back. Let's get you all the latest updates on the big story that we've been tracking here on India Today. On the arrest of Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, and he's received no relief today either. He's been sent to CBI custody for 5 days until March 4th after we saw arguments play out in the Rouse Avenue court in Delhi. The CBI in its arguments alleged that Sisodia wasn't cooperating in the investigation and that whatever changes happened to the liquor policy, it happened under his supervision. Sisodia and his legal team rubbished all of the charges, claiming he is fully cooperating with CBI officials and that there was no valid ground for him to be arrested. He also questioned as to how, over one officer's statement, his arrest was made possible.
अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार जो पूरे देश में सबसे बेहतरीन काम कर रही है, अनुकरणीय काम कर रही है, लोगों को फ्री बिजली देना, फ्री शिक्षा देना, फ्री स्वास्थ्य की व्यवस्था देना, बुजुर्गों की तीर्थ यात्रा कराना, जनहित के सारे काम करने के बावजूद मुनाफे का बजट देना, दरअसल यह गले की हड्डी बन गया नरेंद्र मोदी जी की। वो नहीं चाहते कि देश के अंदर एक ऐसी सरकार चले जो दुनिया और देश के लिए उदाहरण बने। परेशानी यह है कि आज जो दिल्ली सरकार की लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में बढ़ रही है, अरविंद केजरीवाल और आम आदमी पार्टी की लोकप्रियता पूरे देश में बढ़ रही है, उससे बौखला कर यह कार्रवाई की जा रही है।
अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, पापी आपको भी पता है कि एक्यूज नंबर 1 कट्टर बेईमान है, और आज ये आदेश आने के बाद ये बात सिद्ध हो गई है कि न्यायालय ने भी पाया है सीबीआई एक्यूज नंबर 1 मनीष सिसोदिया को शराब नीति घोटाले में अपनी कस्टडी में ले, जिससे कि पूर्ण रूप से विवेचना हो सके।
कोर्ट के सामने ये दलील रखी कि मनीष सिसोदिया जी को रिमांड पर दिया जाए। कोर्ट ने बार बार पूछा कि जब पहली बार आपने मनीष सिसोदिया जी को बुलाया वो आ गए, आपने कल बुलाया वो भी आपके पास आए, पूछताछ आपने की, 5 दिन आपको किस लिए चाहिए? सीबीआई के पास कोई जवाब नहीं है, बस चाहिए।
कल से हम देख रहे हैं कि एक तरफ कानून अपना काम कर रहा है, जो जांच एजेंसी हैं वो ईमानदारी से भ्रष्टाचारियों को कानून के तहत कार्रवाई करती हैं। दूसरी तरफ कट्टर बेईमान और अराजक अपराध पार्टी ना संविधान का सम्मान करती है, ना न्यायालय का सम्मान करती है, ना जनता का सम्मान करती है, और ना कानून का सम्मान करती है।
So let's round up for you exactly what played out in the Delhi court. How did, in fact, the CBI manage to get 5-day custody of Sisodia? So you saw, in fact, that Sisodia, as far as the CBI's arguments were concerned, they said that Sisodia was not cooperating in the probe and that he hatched a secret conspiracy. Now, also, according to officials, let's get you those details of exactly how Sisodia was nailed. The CBI found an excise document on an external device. Now, once, in fact, they tracked that down further, they found that these devices were connected directly to Sisodia's office computers. So then they realized that there was an involvement of Sisodia's office, but it did directly lead to the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister. Well, they seized the computer then and retrieved several files. According to them, according to the CBI, these files were deleted. Now, beyond that, the CBI then decided to go ahead and conduct a forensic test on all of these digital devices. And it showed that several files were received via WhatsApp in particular, which were then deleted subsequently from the devices. Sisodia's secretary was then grilled on these WhatsApp messages, on these big files that were downloaded from WhatsApp and what it contained about the policy. Following that, the Central Bureau of Investigation then used that particular statement because an officer admitted that Sisodia, Kejriwal as well as Satyendra Jain had given the clearance for this excise policy despite the clear loopholes involved. Sisodia failed to answer CBI questions on this forensic proof yesterday when he was questioned for over 10 hours, and that's why they decided to go ahead and arrest him. That's the argument they put forth in court as well, saying that Sisodia did not cooperate in the investigation. Let me take this across to our reporters on the ground. Srishti Ojha is joining us live from the Rouse Avenue Court in Delhi. Also joining us is Manish Pandey, who's joining us live from the CBI headquarters. Manish, to you first. For the Central Bureau of Investigation, they'll be very happy with the developments that came in from the court today. It also means that their arguments were concrete enough, that their demand for 5 days of remand has been met.
Absolutely, Akshita. One thing is very clear, that the CBI was able to convince the court that why it was necessary for them to arrest Manish Sisodia and why they need further custody of the Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister. As far as the grounds were concerned, remember, there were certain important grounds. For example, destruction of evidence, how influential Manish Sisodia is as the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, and how he played an important role as a main conspirator as far as the entire scam is concerned. On those grounds, the CBI argued. Of course, there was counter argument from the lawyers of Manish Sisodia, but the CBI accepted the arguments and grounds of the CBI lawyers. But also CBI understands that these 5 days are going to be extremely important. For next 5 days, Manish Sisodia will be at the CBI headquarters, but what will happen in the next 5 days is going to be extremely crucial as far as the agency is concerned. What we have been given to understand is that in next 5 days, there is a high possibility that there will be a long questioning of Manish Sisodia. Also, there is a possibility that Manish Sisodia will be again confronted with the documentary and digital evidences, and if necessary, he will also be confronted with the accused in the case, because CBI knows this, that after 5 days, when they will again go to court, when Manish Sisodia will be produced,
Manish,
the court will be
I don't have much time, but just one quick clarification. The rest 5 days now, till March 4th, will Sisodia be based in the CBI headquarters only?
Yes, Manish Sisodia will be inside the CBI headquarters. He will be allowed to meet his lawyers, but for the whole day, he will have to face the questioning of the Central Bureau of Investigation.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, Manish. Let me bring in Srishti Ojha, who is reporting live from the Rouse Avenue Court on the hearing that we saw going on for the last few hours in that court. Srishti, what was the basic argument put forth by Sisodia's legal team? Besides seeking regular bail on the grounds that his wife was unwell, there were several other points they also put forth to counter the CBI.
Well, yes, Akshita. What we know is that the court has remanded Manish Sisodia to a 5-day CBI custody. So they've definitely found merits in CBI arguments. But a wave of political reactions that we've been seeing till now, since Manish Sisodia was called for questioning and then was eventually arrested by the CBI. What today we saw in court were strong legal arguments put forth by both sides. What Manish Sisodia's